Well, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Sunday. It's so good to be here. I am so excited and I'm in a great mood. I'm still in a great mood because guess what? I haven't heard Brennan's closing statement yet. Yes, we are talking about the Karen Reed retrial. Still, what a journey have we embarked on, right? Together. Since last year, we have been watching this trial, the retrial. We have talked about all the witnesses, the judge's behavior and conduct. The former prosecutor Lally, now Hank Brennan comes in, and we think it's going to be better, but he shows how low he's willing to go, bending all the rules, bringing in evidence through his own testimony, bringing things that are not true, and the court allows him to do all of the things. So on Friday, we heard from Alan Jackson, the defense attorney, who did a masterful job in the closing argument. And that was so exciting and so touching. And that brought me a lot of hope. It brought me a great feeling, a feeling of grace, a feeling of justice and hope, especially because we know that they are mostly working pro bono at this point. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but it's such a beautiful feeling to see a team of stellar attorneys fighting, fighting for justice and fighting for their clients. The client that is in a position that is almost an impossible position. She's fighting a whole system. And this trial, specifically, in my opinion, made it so much more clear that the collision, there was no collision, that it didn't occur. I mean, last time I wasn't very clear with everything that was being presented. It was such a long trial. This time it was so much more concise, and the expert opinions, the medical opinions, the regarding the bruises, regarding the car, regarding the reconstruction, just made it so clear for me that I was like, yeah, no way this tail light caused his arm to look like that. No way the car that is so heavy going at that speed wouldn't break any bones, make any bruises. Have There's just no way. And I think the defense did a great job. But we are going to try our best, okay, to be impartial. Well, I can't be impartial because I am biased. I am so free Karen Reed like I've never been before. I am really cheering for her parents, hoping that everybody can come together and just see the truth. May the jury see the truth. But what I want to do is, because I haven't watched Brennan at all, I haven't watched his closing argument, I haven't listened to any commentary on Brennan's closing arguments, I closing statement, whatever. I want to hear it, and I want to give you guys the best feedback I can, because there are things that I noticed the Commonwealth was doing that were effective, right? So I just want to think like that, like open minded. If I was in the jury and I was still unsure, or if I was in the jury and I was pro guilty at this point, what are the things that Hank's going to say that I'm going to be like, I can see how that could be effective, right? I don't agree with anything he says. I think very lowly of the man. I don't like him at all, but we're going to do our best. So I just want to stop and give a shout out to everybody. Good afternoon and happy Sunday, my friends. Hi, Lori Us. Can't wait to see y'all and hear Bianca's reaction. Hi, Karina, and welcome to all the members. Karina, our wonderful moderator. Lucinda, how you all? Hello, good afternoon. Queen Olive, good to see you here. Anger Bear, I am doing great. So far, I haven't listened to Hank at all, so I'm doing great. How about you? But before we listen to Hank, I'm going to put a very, oh, hi, Mark. Good to see you. We missed you on the last one, which was a very impromptu live Friday. But I'm so glad that you're here. So we're going to try to keep Sunday consistent, because I think that's better for everybody, so you guys know what's going on. I am going to show you like a very small 1 minute video that I am working on. I'm working on a bigger video for the judge's bias. Okay, you guys know I did like 2 or 3 videos last year showing the blatant bias that the judge shows, the disparate treatment regarding the defense versus the prosecution. So this time I'm working, but it's a lot of hours because I have to look at all the expert testimonies. I think that's where she showed her bias the most with her sustained versus I'll allow it objections. But very quick, very, very small sneak peek here. Let's take a look at this before we go through Brennan.
The impression that Dr. Welcher was trying to reenact the actual collision when he did that.
I have to put it on here and then just go to the beginning. Let's do. Okay, let's go.
Ever under the impression that Dr. Welcher was trying to reenact the actual collision when he did that blue test?
Objection, Your Honor.
Well, that was the only test he performed, and he referenced that test for his opinion that the position and orientation of the lacerations are consistent with the tail light cover. So if that test was not intended to signify or demonstrate the position of the arm, he has no evidence to say the position and orientation of the arm in the lacerations, which are abrasions, are consistent with the tail light cover. That's the only test he did. So if it doesn't represent that, it's really meaningless in his analysis and conclusions.
Now that you've shared your opinions, can I get back to my question?
Sustained. So, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Brent, I'm going to see counsel at sidebar.
Has nothing to do with biomechanics or accident reconstruction.
Did you consider tech stream data?
I'm going to allow that.
I'll strike it. Did you consider Apple Healthcare data?
No, sir.
I'm going to allow it.
Did you consider phone temperature, battery temperature data?
I'm going to allow it.
Has nothing to do with biomechanics, sir.
I'll ask again. Did you consider it?
I did not, no.
You didn't have any independent document to determine whether, in fact, it was new.
I don't quite frankly care whether it's new or not. I just care what's in the data. Whether it's new, old, I don't care. It's not relevant to what I'm doing. I don't say this is new data, this is old data. I just care what the data is.
And that's it. That's it for now. That's it for now. I hate it. I hate it. I hate their experts. I hate the attorney. It's very blatant, you know? It's like, wow, how can you be so unlikable? Brennan with his stupid comments. Well, now that you express your opinion, I get back to my question. Yes, go ahead, Hank. Go ahead. Why don't you talk to us about your expert testing? How wonderful and how effective those tests were. So before we start, I'm trying to like put it off as much as I can, but we will listen to Hank today, guys. And I do need your help. I need you guys to be here with me because I cannot do this alone. I can't. Mark's like, I missed you too. We definitely missed you here on Friday. Hi, normal speed today. Let me see. How do I say this? Mikkelsen, right? I think I did it right, but I may not have done it right. Oh, and by the way, I have a great announcement today, guys. By the way, I'm going to be on the Young Jerks tonight after 7:20. He's going to start, I believe, at 6:30 p.m. with Mazza Media, who is awesome as well. And I'm going to be there hanging out a little bit with Mike later on tonight at after 7:20 p.m. So that is great news. Here is Nate. Hi, Nate. Hi, from Australian guy in the woods. I am new to your channel. Welcome. We are so glad you're here. You're going to love our chat. Everybody participates and it's great fun. We have a sense of humor and we make difficult subjects a little bit lighter. 20 plus years with canine aggression and submission specialist, 10K dog, certified RSPCA, teach bite prevention, etc. Not good with tech. A dog bit. Wow. Yes, I think a dog bit him, and that's what we're looking at here. But what a great input from Nate, who has so much experience with dogs. And he's just like, listen, guys, that's the arm, and that's what I see. So welcome, Nate. Good to have you here. Mark's like, oh man, I hate her. Queen Olive. Jackson was so mad. He has had enough of the Commonwealth and their paid hacks. Right. And during the trial, I have to say, they're such stellar attorneys, right? Because the judge obviously during the expert testimonies and how she sustained and overruled the objections, it was so blatant. Dr. Wolf, Dr. Welcher, what she allowed one side to do versus what she blocked the other side to do. It was so blatant that Alan Jackson, everybody could feel it, but he maintained his professionalism. I think they really worked on that to like not react and just keep going. All of them from the defense, she would be like, oh, no, sustain, 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 and they would just rearrange, they would just rephrase the question, they would just keep going. They weren't arguing back with the judge, unless there was one time where Hank Brennan was trying to say there was glass found in the hoodie or something, and that's not in evidence. So Alan was like, no, now I'm gonna really, really fight for this. But wonderful behavior control and demeanor, because they understand who they're dealing with. They understand that they're dealing with an enemy here, somebody or two people, the whole prosecution team and the judge, who are willing to go to any lengths to block as much testimony, as much defense facts that they can. And it's obvious. So I think the defense is absolutely amazing. Nate says, Nathan Montana Barnes for verification and believe a dog, but a car didn't hit. We must acquit. Awesome. Well, guys, check out Nathan Montana Barnes, because he has a lot of experience with dogs, and it would be great to maybe do a verdict watch. If you want to come on the channel and talk a little bit, we will be happy to have you. Our lives are very small, and that is a good thing at the same time, because we do have a lot of participation from everybody. But I do work on the videos that I publish on their own, like the one that I showed you guys a sneak preview, and that usually has a bigger audience. So the channel is growing, and I appreciate all the feedback and the support. Ask Bob says, Bianca, heart. Hi, Ask Bob. How are things in Canton? How is the energy? How are the supporters doing? I wish I could be there, but it would be, a long thing for me and Whisper and everything. And I don't know if I want to go to Canton and encounter all those cops, because God forbid something happens, what they're willing to do. Perfect. Nate even made videos showing exact injury patterns with photos. I'm definitely going to check it out, Nate. Thank you. Awesome. Oh, yay. I'll be there watching. Yes, guys, I'm probably going to end a little earlier so that I can watch, because I also want to watch Mazda Media on his channel, but he's going to start, I think, at 6:30, so we'll be fine. Lucinda says, Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. That is a great reminder, Lucinda. Thank you for reminding us of that. Happy Father's Day. Clerk has the blueprint. Proctor in his pajamas in the garage. Mark says, Hanky said holes in back of the hoodie were from the January 29th. Yes, during the trial, he introduced that as a fact, and that was a complete fabrication of evidence. What a hack. And the judge was like, I'm not even going to entertain what the defense has to say right now. And then she gives a very brief instruction. A disaster. Guys, don't forget to hit the like button. Leave a comment if you're watching this after we finish, and share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things to help us with the algorithm. Okay, love to, but have that stuff today. I have spoken on a few. Commented on TYJ with Mike through messages, etc. Love it. We'll be in touch soon. Love you, lady. Awesome. Good to know. Thank you, Nate. Karen's finding the whole corrupt states, the governor, the district attorney, the judge, the prosecutor, the Massachusetts State Police, and the Canton Police. It's breathtakingly evil. Yeah. And that is why I felt such a powerful force, a powerful strength and courage and hope when I listened to Alan Jackson on Friday, because I believe there is a power of goodness in the air as well, clashing with the evil that we are going up against. So without further ado, guys, we're going to have to do this now, because we have to. I can't just ignore that he had a closing statement. Let's listen to Hank Brennan. Ready? It's 1.5 speed. Let me know if it's too fast.
John O'Keefe was 46 years old. 46 years old. He spent his life helping people. He's described as a good man, kind,
Correct.
generous, thoughtful.
Yes.
He was a Boston police officer. He worked to help the community. Everything
have
you've
to,
heard
Mark.
about this man, he was a good man. He helped people. When his niece and nephew had nobody, he took them in. He took them in. John O'Keefe seemed to be the type of person who would help anybody at any time. And on January 29th, 2022, John O'Keefe needed some help. He needed help from somebody else. You see, John O'Keefe had just been hit by Karen Reed in front of 34 Fairview Road, and he lay on the ground dying, and he needed help. Someone to reach out a hand, someone to knock on a door, someone to make a phone call to 911, even anonymous.
Hold on, Brennan. I'm going to stop you right here. If they had knocked on the door like they did the next day, for example, would anybody have come out and helped Brian Albert, his wife? Because apparently they didn't do that the next morning, right? So what good would it be for anybody to knock on the door if your situation, if your scenario would be correct? Because then nobody was interested in helping, right? So, okay, apparently you can say whatever you want during closing statement. It's not really evidence, I believe. So he's saying she hit him and then she left him there. Fine. But one thing I will say that I think Brennan did very well here from the beginning, and I don't know if you guys saw, I did a closing statement myself. Yeah, I have 2 uploads. One is at 2 times speed, and the other one is like a little bit slower. One thing that I did on my closing statement, it's the only criticism I would give the defense, because the defense did a masterful job, way better than I could have ever done. Of course, I'm not an attorney, but I touched on something that I thought was gold, okay? I made sure that whenever I talked about the investigation, I would say something like, and Mr. O'Keefe deserved better. This is a fallen police officer, and this is how they treated him. Because I wanted to invite the jury to share my indignation on how they treated Mr. O'Keefe for not only being an officer, but a wonderful person, a respected person, someone who did want to help everybody, someone who did take in the kids after his sister and her husband have passed away. So I definitely used that in my closing statement or argument, because I thought it was crucial for the jury to join you in the indignation, because there is a victim. The jury is aware of the victim, and it's human nature to want to do something about it, to want to bring vindication for the victim, to feel for the family. And the only person they have in front of them is Karen Reed. So if the defense team had used this small strategy I'm speaking of kind of inviting the jury with indignation against the police, that would have been better, in my opinion. They did say at the end, the defense did say at the end, if you let them win, Michael Proctor wins, which was good. But if you guys haven't had a chance to watch the closing statement I uploaded, take a look and let me know what you guys think in the comment section, because I thought that was a very good insert, and it was a few times I did it. Every time I would touch on the investigation, I would repeat like a theme. And Mr. O'Keefe deserved better, because I want to take their attention away from Karen and bring it to the people who actually deserve the attention for the tragedy, right? So anyway, let's keep going here. Let me see you guys, what you guys are saying. Okay, so Queen Olive is saying my daughter, SIL, and sister and 13-month-old twin grandbabies are here because their landlord is doing stuff at their house. So they're here for a few days. I'm listening, but might not be able to chat much. Okay, that's fine, Queen Olive. We're so glad you're here anyways. Mark says, you mean when Jen knocked on the door? Oh, yeah, she didn't. Exactly. And even when they supposedly knew about what was happening, nobody came out of the house. So, Brennan, we remember that. Let's keep going with Brennan.
Honestly, not take responsibility, just to help. And there was only one person in this entire planet who could help him that morning, to give him a chance. Maybe it was a 33% chance if he met the Isaac Wolf of the world. But to give him a chance. And that one person who could help him that morning was this defendant right here.
Wow.
And she made a decision.
That was very
In her
dramatic.
Lexus with the shattered taillight, debris failed all over the front yard, and John O'Keefe lying helpless like a child
Don't
on the
look
front
at him,
yard.
Karen. Just
She made a
stay,
choice.
stay there.
She didn't call 911. She didn't run to his aid. She didn't knock on a door. She made a decision about herself. In her Lexus, she drove away.
There's no
She was
evidence of that.
She hit him, and she left him to die. She was drunk. She hit him, and she left him to die.
Well, we have evidence she drank. That's the only
Before I go through
evidence
and
we
detail
have.
the evidence, let's talk a little bit about the evidence as a whole. She was drunk. She was drinking
Sure.
that night. She was drinking McCarthy's with John. She was
Sure.
drinking at the waterfall. Her blood was taken. The samples, the retrograde analysis, almost 2 to 3 times the legal
I
limit.
know,
She was drunk.
Mark. It's very hard for me. This is very
She had-
hard for me.
The timeline in this case is beyond dispute. You can accuse, assault, characterize, malign, twist. The timeline doesn't change. It is data. Data is data. The black box.
Okay, data is data, but the only one accusing and doing personal attacks and doing all these things during the trial is you, sir. So you know what I mean? Hi, Kelly and Davis. Hey, y'all. Glad I made the live today. What a crazy closing this was. Try to stay present so hard. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do here, Kelly, because I have not watched it. I cannot stand Hank Brennan. So that's why we're doing it as a team. And we're going to get through this as to the best of our ability. I'm so glad you're here to help us out. Let's go, Brennan. Keep going. And I don't like this lady either, the McLaughlin, because I feel like, she's kind of a coward, just always hiding behind the scenes. But she's there. I make sure that every time that I post anything in prosecution, I put her picture too, because, hey, you took the case. You're part of this. Okay, so don't hide.
Box. The forensics from the SD card. We know exactly step by step where they were. We know in that window, she hits him because he never moves again. His healthcare data. The temperature on the battery of the cell phone, the physical evidence, the debris field, the DNA, the hair. And then she left him to die. He had a basal skull fracture, counter coup. You heard all about it when the back of your head hits the ground and the brain comes forward. Dr. Wolf told us the reason why they have level 1 trauma centers around the country is because people can survive this injury if they get help. That's why they have this care. That's why they have these hospitals. But you got to get help. You got to get help. And if you don't, you develop symptoms, ecchymosis, raccoon eyes, your brain swells, and you die. She was drunk. And that night was a recipe for disaster. But before we get to the drinking, in some ways, the fate of this night was sealed well before that night because John O'Keefe and Karen Reed were in a toxic relationship. This relationship was crumbling. We hear lovey-dovey, and it was crumbling, and we know it. And we know it because a month before, his niece Kaylee talks about when they went to Aruba. It should have been a wonderful event. It was discord. It was fighting. It was aggravation. And when they got back, the discontent was palpable. Miss Reed reaches out to Brian Higgins, text messaging. John O'Keefe, the relationship is crumbling. And you heard a little bit about what that relationship was like. Kaylee, his niece, told you. When there was an argument, John would do what John does. He would walk away. She described to you one time, to get away from the scene, he walked into his bedroom. But the defendant wouldn't let it go, pounding on his door, having to get the last word, never letting go of the fight. Kind of mirrors what happens on January 29, 2022. And maybe outward appearance, they got along. Maybe sometimes quietly they got along. But behind closed doors, relationships have up and downs. We have a bird's eye view into the relationship on January 28, 2022, because we have the text messages. Not so lovey-dovey. The relationship is almost over. The tensions are simmering beneath the surface. They are not getting along. She believes Mr. Keefe is already halfway out of the relationship and he's not into it anymore. You will read them, you saw them. This relationship was unstable and at its end. And so fast forward that night. That night, after this discord, after the arguing, they go out and what do? They drink. And they drink a lot. So Keefe drinks a lot and Karen Reed drinks a lot. You've seen the McCarthy videos. You can call it 6, 7, 8, whatever you want to call it. You can see the shots into the mixed drinks. More shots into mixed drinks. Count them yourself. Over a half dozen mixed drinks in just a few hours. Sober. And then at the waterfall, a shot, a mixed drink. Now, it was brought up at the waterfall that there was some type of discord between Brian Higgins and John O'Keefe. They knew each other. They were friends. Brian Higgins' conduct of speaking to Karen Reed is not honorable. It's not. But they were friendly. There was no adversarial relationship. There was no anger between them. What we heard is they barely greeted each other. Can we have slide one, please? At the Waterfall Bar, when you see John O'Keefe come in, he has been barely greeting him. That's it. And Mr. Higgins, barely greeting each other. Reality sometimes is different than argument. This is a celebratory mood. Take that down, please. Celebratory mood. A bunch of friends. They're playing around. They're hugging. They're grappling. This is a fighting technique for a murder 2 hours later. Is that the story? They're practicing their moves to murder John O'Keefe. In the celebratory mood, you don't see any aggravation or animus between Brian Higgins and John O'Keefe. Inevitably, the next morning, Karen Reed is brought to the hospital and they take her blood. Now, the government doesn't have to prove that she was drunk. It is either that she's over the legal limit, 0.08, or she had enough alcohol to affect her ability to operate a motor vehicle safely, but you will know that she was far beyond the legal limit. After the retrograde analysis, almost 2 to 3 times the legal limit. Almost 2 to 3 times the legal limit. Now, it's been intimated, not come out and said, that maybe she went home and started drinking after she got home. No evidence, mind you, no evidence. And that somehow that is why she had a high blood alcohol level. It's not appropriate for me to comment on the credibility of another attorney's argument, so I won't do that. But Karen,
okay,
so
this is just an out because because Alan Jackson challenged him to explain, talking about the hoodie having holes, and he's like, that's not appropriate for another attorney to comment on the other attorney. So he's just trying to get an out, an excuse. But also, he's saying there's no evidence that she drank afterwards, but there's also, is there specific evidence of her blood alcohol level, or was that taken? There was some issues about that, right? Because they took it in the hospital, and then they don't know how it's taken in the hospital. They don't have the same rules, the same guidance for handling the specimen. And then when he went to the lab testified, well, that's not how we would have done it. All we can say was we got it and then we tested it. So your evidence is very weak as well. I would say that the best charge they have so far is the lesser included for the operating under the vehicle, operating under influence, because she does have a clip saying, yeah, I drank so many drinks. Because of her own words, I think that's the best Brennan has so far, but not based on the evidence that he collected, not at all.
She'll tell you exactly what she thinks about that claim.
There you go. There's the clip.
My alcohol takes probably about 5 or 6 or 4. The drinks that they reported at more parties, just where it's been most of the alcohol, was the weakest at the time. It tasted just like all soda water with blue lime.
Slide 3, please.
I wouldn't have gone on the expressway. I would have gotten on the expressway at 12:15. And it's why the roads were very white and see on the videos. And I was going, when I've had to drink cigarette, I was very extra and roll my alerts aren't sharp as they should be. But I shouldn't have tried it.
Do you think she drank when she got home? When they leave the Waterfall Bar at 12:12, you see a video, you have it in evidence, there's a still photo of John O'Keefe holding a glass. Not from the Albert's home. He didn't sneak into the house in the cupboards and grab a glass. From the waterfall, you see him with a glass, and in it is a straw. Take a look at that picture. And now from 12 on, we virtually have a historian in the data that tells us exactly where he went, exactly step by step where he went. And how do we have that? Well, we know the defendant's car had like a black box, and Dr. Judd Welcher took that data from the black box and downloaded it so you can see the movements and the triggering events. And then Shannon Burgess, well, you don't like what he says, don't attack the data, attack the man. You can be mocked for his LinkedIn
You
profile.
are the one that what is this, guys? Is this gaslighting? This is like legit projection. Don't attack the data, attack the man. Sir, remember you when you were talking to Dr. Wolf and Dr. Ranchler, and you were like accusing him for having a ham sandwich, or you were telling Dr. Wolf that his wife does whatever on social media? Sir, gaslighting. We see it. We're not thinking we're crazy. We think you're the crazy one. Doesn't work.
File or his unupdated CV. But what he did is he found a key critical piece of this case that did not exist before. He found a recent one, and it was that SD card. The SD card that everybody missed, including the defense expert. Everybody missed it. So as much as you want to make fun of him, Shannon Welcher found the key so that he could have the time and date and location
As much as you
on
want
an
to make
impenetrable
fun of him
timeline
for
that can't be broken.
lying.
That's what Shannon Burgess did. And so we know on the way from the waterfall to 34 Fairview,
Deep breaths.
Reed is driving drunk. Mr. O'Keefe is in the passenger side of the car, and they're heading their way to 34 Fairview, and they get lost. And now we have more data because John O'Keefe has a cell phone. And I said at the beginning, it is a historian. It doesn't suffer from bias. It doesn't suffer from prejudice. It doesn't suffer from memory loss. It has data on it. And he puts on Waze, high location data, as Ian Whiff would say. And it tells you second by second the speed, the location, the movement. That's what it does. And he has healthcare data on that phone. The healthcare data separately shows his movement. And that is critical. It is critical because it not only shows his movement, it shows when he does not move. That healthcare data is critical. And it's not subject to bias. It's not in dispute. There's no other contrary evidence. It is data. On the way to 34 Fairview, alcohol fuels tension. We know that. And we know from those text messages the tension in that relationship. And then there's a trigger. There is a trigger on the way because they are lost. And when John O'Keefe calls Jen McCabe for directions, Jen McCabe says something that triggers what's going to happen next. Could I slide 4, please?
What does she say?
Very close to the hours. In fact, when Jen was navigating John to the hours when I was driving, she said it's near Ashley's house. Ashley and John hooked up prior to John and I dating.
And so they travel to 34 Fairview.
So, okay, so somebody reminds me that, oh, we're going by your current boyfriend's. It's close by the house. It's close by his ex-girlfriend's house. And immediately I think that is like motive for me to murder my boyfriend. That is all I need. There's a house here from his ex-girlfriend. We're going to pass by it. That's murder right there. That is the type of proof that Brennan has. And he is relying heavily on her clips. He's relying heavily on her clips. And I also, when I did my mock closing statement, I used that. And I said, and of course, I talked about the trauma and how people want to blame themselves and how if it was really, and that, there's a reason why Karen Reed was speaking out because she has been through this situation for years now. She had to stop her life completely and she hasn't been able to speak out. So yeah, finally last year she decided to be part of this docuseries. Of course, the prosecution took specific clips out of context to present to you, but think about it. Really think about it like in real life. If somebody had a motive, intention, murdered their boyfriend, do you really think they would be shouting to everybody the next day, maybe I did it? Maybe I did it, guys. Did I do it? Did I hit him? I don't think that makes any sense. It makes more sense that she was questioning what happened to him to the point that she was so in shock and I can't think of the word right now, but that she was so panicked, right? And we can see how panicked she was during the videos that she started questioning herself. And yes, she went on the documentary to explain, to speak out, to give her version of the story. Because imagine losing your job, losing your livelihood, spending all your money, all your savings, your health deteriorating, your parents had to stop their lives. That is the life Karen Reed has been living since this happened. So yes, on January 29th, something horrible occurred, a terrible tragedy occurred, but also Karen Reed's life started to be destroyed that day. So yes, she did speak. Yes, there are clips. And think about this. If the Commonwealth really had a case, really had evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that this was caused by Karen Reed, wouldn't they have presented that evidence instead of relying on the clips from the defendants? Just putting it out there, right? But I knew he was going to do this. We all knew he was going to do this. So yeah, let's see.
Under the duress of this crumbling relationship, fueled by intoxication, we have triggers. Now, we know on their way there, we know from the data, where they went, how they moved. If we look at slide 5, Ian Whiffen showed you a guide. You could enlarge it a little, please. And it shows you with the healthcare data, it registers as flights climbed, but it doesn't mean someone's climbing upstairs. What it means is there's an elevation. And he breaks down the data, the red, the green, if you can move down, please, and and then the bottom left, that's 34th Fairview. You can see second by second the circles of the 3-point turn on Cedar Crest. That's what you see. At that point, they've left the bar. Remember, the battery temperature was 82 degrees. They're now in a car. It's now 77 degrees. Think about how accurate the battery temperature is, that it reflects the difference between being in a bar and being in a car. They take a 3-point turn at Cedar Crest. And because of Shannon Burgess and because of Judd Welcher, we have the data, and it's a triggering event. Remember, if there's an acceleration past 30%, it registers data on the car, and that's exactly what happens. It's a 3-point turn, and it all lines up with the cell phone after you synchronize the times. It's that simple. It's nothing complicated. There's nothing tricky. There's nothing devious about it. It's data. They do the 3-point turn, and you can match the cell phone clock with the Lexus clock. And when you do, you can reconcile the difference. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of argument, a lot of fights. Shannon Burgess says 21 to 29 seconds. Mr. DeSorter comes in. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to actually do anything. He wasn't given the invitation to test the data. He just looked at the report and made criticisms like a Monday morning quarterback. But even he, looking at the data, says, well, it's 3 seconds off or 2 seconds.
That is so disingenuous, right? Because he's the attorney. He knows that the Soger came to evaluate Shannon Burgess reports. He came to evaluate that. He didn't come to evaluate the evidence. And then he's disingenuous. You know, he's an attorney. He's supposed to have integrity when he is speaking. And he's just misrepresenting what the witness was there to do. He's saying, oh, he's just a Monday morning quarterback because he didn't do anything. But Brennan is very well aware that that wasn't what he was hired to do. So I don't respect that. I just don't respect that. I think that with any profession, you should, I mean, that's at least how I view it. I'm a real estate broker, and I don't misrepresent. I don't say half truths. I don't lie. I don't say, listen, we have like 3 offers and higher than yours. No, I do not say things like that because I believe that integrity is so important, and you have to have ethics and integrity, because one case or one client are not going to define the rest of your life, you know. But if you have a good reputation, that's going to bring you clients forever. So what Brennan is doing is showing everybody who he is and how low he's willing to go, you know, through his own demeanor. I wanted to read this from Minecraft fan. I think Karen hit Mr. O'Keefe with her SUV, and then the other people manipulated the evidence to make sure she didn't get away with it. They overstepped and they are committed to their stories. Okay, well, thank you for your feedback. I definitely don't agree because I don't think the 6,000 pounds SUV would have hit a human being at 24 miles an hour and not caused any bruises or broken bones. But hey, there might be people like you in the jury, so your opinion is extremely valuable to us. We want to know what you're thinking. Kelly Ann says, I missed the part where he says she was the only person in the world who could help him. If we go with the Commonwealth's theory, there was a house full of 15 plus people 30 feet away, supposedly. Right. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Nate says, pig DNA from treats given to keep the dog quiet during the party. Pig ears are often given for the 10 rescue here and my 1 forever for a family member. See, exactly. That was the silliest thing. But he said something about DNA, but he never brought the witness to talk about the DNA. And then he said, oh, I'll bring her a rebuttal. And then there was no rebuttal. So the way he brought DNA in was him as the prosecutor. He testified to it in a question. He said, oh, what about the DNA, such and such and such? And the defense was like, that's not in evidence, Your Honor. And she's like, that's fine. Brennan can bring in evidence. Hey, stop asking me questions, defense. So that's where we're at. Let's go, Brennan. Let's go.
Same window, same time. We have all the arguments we want. They're there. They're together. The data matches up perfectly. And so they make their way down to 34 Fairview Road. They don't stop. They don't stop at the driveway. They don't stop. And John O'Keefe gets out of the car. They go to the flagpole. We know for 2 reasons. One, the data. And secondly, Mr. Nagel and Ms. Mason.
Hi, Wan. Good to have you here.
Goes down to the right. They meet. They let Karen Reed go first. They fall behind in the truck. Now, at this point, Mr. O'Keefe has about 8 more minutes before the beginning of the end of his life. And he's
so wait, are you saying that the truck with Ryan Nagel was there during the time? No, you said they left and that's when she hit him. Is that what you're saying here? Yes, Brennan. Yeah. And let me ask you something, Brennan. Why didn't the police question Ryan Nagel and Mr. Dentano that were behind the SUV at the time you say she hit him for like almost 2 years? All they needed was Jennifer McCabe. That's odd.
He's in that car for most of it because Miss Mason and Miss Nagel don't see anybody get out of the truck. Nobody crosses the
Hi,
line.
Eileen.
Nobody
Good
goes
to
to a
have you
garage.
here.
Not just because they didn't see it. They didn't. Not because they didn't see it. Because the healthcare data on the phone shows that John O'Keefe is not moving. The car is stopped at the flagpole. The healthcare data stops. The battery stays at 77 degrees. The data is the data. You can't change it as much as you want to. It's data. And they sit at that flagpole for minutes. It's 12, 24, 33 when they get there. They're there past 12:30. Remember, Miss Mason, Miss Nicholson, they're there about 5 minutes and then they go. It's not exact, but about 5 minutes, they said. So there's about 2 minutes left for John O'Keefe. And what are they doing in those 2 minutes? What are the last 2 minutes of his life that he can remember that would be open to him? They're arguing. They're arguing. They're arguing. And we know they're arguing because Miss Reed tells us through first responder Becker. She was sad. Remember, he sees her in the back of the ambulance and he's trying to calm her down. She was sad because her last moments were arguing. They're in an argument. That's why they're not going in the house. But John O'Keefe decides to get out of the car. And we know because the dome light goes on. That's what happens when you open a door. Whether he's bent down, he's standing outside, or on the other side, the dome light is on. And then you see the data. John O'Keefe begins to move. 12:31:56. It's the first time he has moved since they got to the flagpole, and it will be the last time he moves in his life. And he moves in 20 seconds. Ian Whitman said that the satellites, they move, they reconnect, they pull information. He's no longer on high frequency data because waves are shut off. Now it's more random, it's low frequency. We would never suggest, and Mr. Whitman did not claim, based on location data alone at that point, you can tell exactly where John O'Keefe is. What he said is it was leading all night. The bullet is always near the flagpole. That doesn't mean he's always near the flagpole. He could have moved. He could have moved in the circles, come back. Location data is consistent with him never leaving the flagpole. That in itself is not enough. But there's more. There is more. There is the healthcare data. There is the temperature of the cell phone battery. And so he moves for 20 seconds. It turns west. It does not say he walks to the house. That's not what the data says. It doesn't say that he goes straight line and he walks over to the door. In fact, could he even get to the door from 75 feet? Could he get there? Because when the investigator for the defense testified, he measures from the driveway. He never stopped at the driveway. He never measures from the flagpole. He never measures from the flagpole to the garage door. So this fantasy that somehow he walked in the garage, even though there's no evidence, there's no witness, there's no data. 20 seconds of his life, and he moves. And healthcare data registers his steps. It could be pacing. It could be a straight line. It could be shaking the phone. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know everything. We don't know every little detail in every little second. We don't have to. That's not doubt. That's not reasonable doubt. We know for that 20
We don't need to know stuff?
He's moving. And in that 20-second window, when he moves, he has his phone. He looks down, 12:32:09. He sees a text message from his friend, John McCabe. And he looks at the text message, and he closes it. And then it happens. We know from the uncontroverted data from that black box, we know that Karen Reed, after he gets out of the car, drives away. She drives for at least 33 feet away from him. He's back near the flagpole. She's gone. It's over. Whatever argument is over. Whatever anger and flame has been dispassioned, she's moved on. He's separate from her. He's safe. And then she makes a decision. That's what this case is about. Then she makes a decision. She could have driven home. She could have broken up with him. They could have talked about it the next day. But like knocking on the door, like Kaylee said, getting the last word, she doesn't drive away. She takes that 6,000-pound Lexus and she makes a decision. And the decision is that she steps on the gas after banging it into reverse. Before we talk about what happens next, I want to talk to you a little bit about the charges in this case. And I hate to digress, but it's important. So we really
Okay, I'm gonna pause it because I do wanna get your feedback so far. Eileen says, chat in your community is so chilled and welcoming. Yes, I'm very grateful for that. Everybody here has been so nice since the beginning. Let me see. I'm gonna read a few chats that I haven't read yet. Let me put myself up here. Higgy, Albert, and McCabe are clowns. They don't have the guts to beat another cop. Moreover, let him lay in the front yard where it happened. So I don't know. I think there's so many possibilities, right? Because the only really one of the pieces of evidence we have as far as his death is that he suffered a blunt trauma to the back of the head. It could have been so many things, right? Could have been a fight, could have been this, that. And I was talking to a friend of mine in the dog park this week, and she's like, I don't know, Bianca, I can't imagine. I don't think that Carrie did it. She hasn't really been watching the trial, but she's like, I think he walked into the house and maybe either there was a fight and the dog got involved, or maybe the dog was the first one and then he fell backwards, maybe hit his head. There was a gym, there was like blunt objects, weights and stuff. Maybe he hit his head and the cops inside the house were like, we don't want to get involved in this. Let's just pretend he never came into the house and let's put him outside. And they actually have a group text saying the guy never came into the house. And Brian Albert's like, exactly. Why would you have to say that? Like, if he never came into the house, you don't have to remind everybody in a group text that he never came into the house. So to me, there's more evidence of the latter. There's more evidence that something happened to that effect than the SUV could have ever hit him. For me. Okay, we got Nate. Okay, Nate's this is the pig one. I already listened to that. Hey, Scott, good to see you here. I didn't even listen to Hanky Panky's Brennan's closing. I was amongst the crowd outside of court instead after AJ's closing. That is so awesome. I wish I was there. I imagine the energy was amazing because I was by myself at home, and after I listened to AJ, I was so full of life and full of hope and just like touched, by the call for justice. And you're the last line of defense because the jury probably felt the bias the judge demonstrated, the anger the prosecution demonstrates. And it was just such a beautiful feeling of hope after AJ closed. And I also had not listened to Brennan's closing. I said to you guys, I needed your help. I needed you guys to accompany me doing this because it's really hard for me to listen to this guy. So I do appreciate everybody being here. Kellyanne says, however, if you truly look at her behavior, so Karen Reed, when she was talking in the clips, and listen to her words, she's being honest, which we know when we look at everyone else, it's all questionable, right? Susan Moretz, I got hit by a car. I'm so sorry, Susan. I got hit by a car walking home from school years ago. I was a bruise. I was a whole bruise. I was one big bruise, and the car was stopping for a stoplight, almost stopped. I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense that you just have scratches on your arm and in a specific pattern and nothing else, So until they get past that, nothing else matters. Mark says, your closing statement was awesome. Thank you so much. You guys, if you haven't heard my closing statement, please check out on my channel because I worked very hard on it. And I will love your feedback. I will love your feedback. Thank you, Mark, for watching it. Kelly Kell, I legit think he's acting like his life is on the line. And I know that sounds dramatic, but seriously, you're talking about Brennan because he's going so low and bending the rules and everything. That sure, maybe he got a threat. Maybe he, I don't know. We don't know. But why would an attorney with a whole life ahead of him and a reputation, and the judge as well, act so blatantly, in committing pretty much fraud, right? Introducing evidence that wasn't introduced by witnesses in a trial, and the judge just having disparate treatment. Can we talk about how something was seriously wrong with Brennan during this? He was flipping through the pages for no reason and mixing up words without fixing it. It's actually concerning. That is so funny. Don't be concerned about Brennan, Kelly. Please, he does not deserve your concern. He does not deserve. He's full of hate and he's unethical. So please do not waste one breath being concerned about Hank. Nate, if the car hits, mate, who said that? Explain how I can replicate the dog bite marks from other court document reports. And can you show any taillight marks injuries ever with? Right. I think the prosecution is relying heavily on Karen Reed's statements. They are relying heavily on that. And I actually would have done a different closing statement if I was Brennan, because he's going through all the data and the steps and the key cycles and stuff and talking about Burgess. And that is not strong evidence for him because, his witnesses are very questionable, all of them. Nate's like, documents? I will wait. I will wait. We're sitting here waiting for the evidence. Where is the evidence? I've been lessinated. I've been lessinated. I love that name. I haven't listened to Spanky's closing yet. I cannot stand his voice. I get physically ill. I hate it too. I've been lessinated. I cannot stand it. That's why I dredged. I think that's what you say. I postponed as much as I could. I did not listen to it on Friday. I didn't listen to any of the people that I usually listen to for commentary because I was like, I don't want to know. I don't want to hear it. It's just like full of hate with the teeth like this. I just cannot stand him. Okay. I'm with you on that. So I appreciate that you're here with me suffering together because I cannot do this alone. Calico, he's trying so hard to sound empathetic and human, but it's not working, I don't think. He just sounds very angry, even when he's flipping the pages and screaming. And it's kind of all over the place. Somebody said I think it was, we're all mad here. She's still in the hospital. I hope she's feeling better. I hope she can pop in and, she's a great follower and member of the channel. But she said she was worried about his closing argument. She thought it was good and she was concerned. So I don't see it yet. But who knows, who knows? Kelly Cow, his frantic hand movements. Sorry, I'm going off, but he creeped me out so much during his closing. Just something disturbing going on. Yeah, absolutely. I get it. He disturbs me. He seriously disturbs me as well. Scott McGinnis said, Peggy O'Keefe faked crying with stage sorry, not sorry. Yeah, we don't know. And okay, so I'll share this because I don't like to talk about the family a lot. I try to avoid it to the best of my ability, because it's a horrible tragedy that has happened. And I do believe that Peggy now has the kids. So you know what I mean? Like, let's just leave it. But I understand. But this trial is actually difficult for me because my mom died in a tragedy involving a collision. It was a truck and they reversed into her, and that's how she died. She was a pedestrian, so she was walking to work and it was horrible. It was about 7 years ago, so that's how I can talk about it now. But for a while I couldn't even talk about it. It was very tragic. She was very young, 59 years old, beautiful soul. And they said, you shouldn't look at her body. Even friends from my church were like, no, you really shouldn't go and see because it's going to be very traumatizing to you. And this case is very triggering when they talk about the injuries so much and the broken bones and all of that. But I would have a very hard time being in a courtroom because every time that I had to listen to or talk about the facts involving that incident, if I was in an office and they were looking at the driver, his interview and stuff like that, I would be bawling. Like I would be uncontrollably bawling. I could not speak. It was just very hard for months, probably 2 years. It took me for me to be able to talk about my mom, for me to be able to put a picture of her up. It was very, very hard. So I don't know. I don't know about the family. I don't know about anybody's reactions. You guys know I do body language here, but I don't want to be the one to judge how the family is reacting. But I don't know. Maybe it's just they're desensitized. It could be desensitized because sometimes we need to be desensitized of a terrible tragedy in order to survive because it's an impossible situation that you have. The worst thing you can think of happens to you or one of your family members, and then you're here and you stay alive and you have to keep going, So I don't know if she was crying or not. All I say is best wishes for her. I understand the whole family is against Karen Reed. And all I can say is I focus on the positive. So I focus on sending Karen Reed and the defense team as much positive energy as I can. And in the future, hopefully the truth will be revealed to the family as well. So thank you everybody for the wishes here. Thank you. And let's see. where okay, hold on. Scott's like but maybe she's gaslit by the anti-corruption clan. Oh yeah, absolutely. The whole family, they have a specific way of thinking right now, and that's what they are. It's like cognitive dissonance. You have two realities, you have two trains of thoughts. Let's say you have some facts being presented that show that there couldn't have been a car, but at the same time, they have believed for so long that Karen Reed did it, that even though they have two realities in front of them, they can only reconcile with one. So they end up believing one, and they don't want to change their mind because people have a really hard time admitting that they're wrong and they don't want to change. But maybe during this trial they had second thoughts. We don't know. Susan says, when they talk about taking and looking at his brain, my heart aches. Yeah, all of that. I couldn't handle that. But hey, we don't know what we can handle, right? Unless we are there. Right, that's true. Nancy Baloney, allegedly Peggy, even before this, couldn't stand Karen. And apparently Karen couldn't stand her either, right, guys? Let's not forget the video where she's making fun of Peggy. Lori us, and they want to have someone to blame. However, they're blaming the wrong person. Right. That's what I was saying, that you should have invited the jury as the defense to be indignated at the police. Mark says, sorry, I think Peg is an evil lady. Okay, that's fine. Hey, I don't know her. Kelly Cow says, I lost my mom when I was 23 years old to cancer and took care of her. Trauma makes you act strangely, but it was hard for me to be around anything cancer related for 7 years. Sending love. Oh, I'm so sorry, Kelly. That is, you're so young, and that's one of the worst losses we have. I always try to think, well, it's better that I lost her than if she lost me, because they say when you lose a child is the worst, but who knows, and also because you had to take care of your mom, that was like a prolonged thing. My mom, it was a tragedy, so it was immediate. So you never know. There's really no good way to lose a loved one and to deal with trauma. But that's why I actually got into meditation. That's how I got into meditation, because I started listening to a lot of guided meditations that would help me go through the grief, cry, stay in the moment, release my emotions, and then go on through the day with that. So if you guys are ever interested, I have guided meditations on this channel that I create myself. So it'd be nice for you guys to check it out if you like it. So unfortunately, we got to go back to Brennan, right? I know talking to you guys is fun, and it's better than listening to Brennan, but we have to listen what this guy has to say. So let's keep going here.
We understand what we're talking about here. I have no authority to talk about the law in this case. The Honorable Judge Canoni will do that. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the charges. On my
Honorable?
interpretation of the law, it's the judge who has that special power. But I want to explain to you a couple of things so when you think about
I
what
got
happens
the
next, you can
power.
really assess the facts of this case with the charges against Ms. Reed. She is charged with second-degree murder. It sounds ominous, it is. It's a serious charge, second-degree murder. When most people think murder, they think shooting or stabbing somebody. It's natural to think that. Second-degree murder is different. It's not first-degree murder. I told you at the beginning of this case, I told you that we were not going to suggest or try to prove that Ms. Reed intended to kill John O'Keefe. That was never part of this case. We're not claiming that.
Wait,
I told you that
what?
we were not ever going to try to prove that she even intended to hit him. We never
What?
suggested we would try to prove that, and we're not trying to prove that she intended to hit him. We're not. What we are obligated to prove, and what we have proven from the evidence of
I'm
this case of second-degree
confusion.
murder, is that she intended an act, and that is
Oh.
putting the car into reverse and heading back towards John O'Keefe. She intended that act. The question
Okay, so that makes me confused, because I went through the charges during my closing statement and I was like, okay, this charge requires intent that to cause serious bodily harm or even death. And you're saying you were not required to prove that she intended to cause serious bodily harm or death? Okay.
then becomes, did her conduct create a clear, plain, strong likelihood of death? Late at night, dark, beginning to snow, under the influence of alcohol, knowing where she stopped and left him after an argument, heading back in reverse to the exact spot or right near where she left him at over 24 miles per hour, accelerating at over 75%. You need to ask yourself, are you convinced if somebody does that create a plain and strong likelihood of death? And if there's no doubt in your mind that she intended to hit that accelerator in reverse, and if that conduct will create a clear and plain likelihood of death,
That's awesome, Kelly.
she's guilty of that
Congratulations.
crime.
We're so proud of
whatever the
you.
label is, she would be guilty of that crime. Now think about this. Let me give you an analogy.
Give me,
If
give
somebody,
me.
maybe a teenager, someone young, impulsive, is on a bridge, and they see cars going by, and they have a boulder, and they want to throw the boulder off. They're not looking to hurt anybody. They're not meaning to kill anybody, but they throw the boulder off the bridge because they want to see the car break, the thrill. And when they throw that boulder off the bridge, and it comes down and lands on the car, and there's somebody, passenger, anybody in that car, and it then goes through the roof and kills the person in the car, did they intend to kill that person? No, they were trying to have a thrill throwing the rock. Did they have the malice to want that person dead? No, they didn't. But that would be an example of second-degree murder. When you take a boulder and throw it off a bridge, there's a plain and strong likelihood of death. When Karen Reed,
I know. I was
in the
like,
midst
what
of that
the heck
tension
is a
and fight,
boulder?
after she drove away and was gone, disengaged, when she came back for the last word, in the darkness, the beginning of the snow, under the influence of alcohol, and decided to stop her Lexus, decided to put it in reverse, decided to accelerate 75% in the exact same direction of where she left him, and then hit him, and he died. I suggest to you that is second-degree murder.
He's like, I didn't prove it to you. I suggest that you find it to be second-degree murder. Auntie Baloney saying I didn't like him from the start, and this whole trial did prove I was right. A punchable face. One thing, okay, I'm going to say one thing that I think is good for the Commonwealth, which I am not certain how to respond. I'm not a technology guru or physics guru or anything like that. My jam is in human behavior, psychology, words. So I don't know. But when he says the thing about the car, the decision to stop and the reversing and the mileage, I'm still not like, it wasn't proven to me clearly that this happened or it didn't. It wasn't like, okay, this did not happen at night. So that to me, it's kind of like, well, yeah, why would we have this? Why would we have this reverse happening at 24 miles an hour the night before? So what did the defense, can you guys tell me? Because I don't recall. I'm not saying that the Commonwealth did a great job showing that this did happen, but I do remember they talking about this, right? So what did the defense bring to combat this, to combat the car, technology showing the reversing happening the night before 24 miles per hour? Did that happen? And what did the defense say about this? Because I didn't, honestly, I don't understand. I don't understand that type of evidence. When they were talking about it, I was so lost. So, Kelly was saying, watch the guy behind a computer person. He's so uncomfortable. Yeah, the whole time when I was watching AJ, he was like sleeping. I think he's the victim's advocate or something. Kelly Ann Davis says, I thought it was important that AJ recircled to how she was in shock. Yes. And I'm brain fizzing on the diagnosis. Was acting that she was acting the way she was due to the situation. Huge fact. Absolutely great and excellent on Dr. Russell for introducing that, right? Lori Franklin says the reverse was when they loaded car on tow truck. Right. I also heard that. But did the defense bring that into the evidence, and through which witness? I heard that. But I don't remember. So it wasn't clear to me. So I don't know. For some reason, it didn't stay with me. Mary says punchable. Okay. Maybe it's just Hank's face. I don't know. Didn't Brennan say they never gave a speed when he was questioning Dr. Ranchler? Yeah. So guys, that's what I'm saying. That whole thing I did not absorb it as clearly as I absorb other things. They say something like during the phone call with Jan, it shows a 3 points turn being made. Okay. All right. Well, let's keep going. Let's see what else he says.
The other charge, operating under the influence of alcohol, manslaughter. It's different. It's a totally different and separate charge. Was she under the influence of alcohol?
Sure.
And then secondly, did she operate her Lexus wantonly and recklessly in a way that would very likely result in serious injury?
We don't know because
So
Miss Kalakithis said that she looked fine to her, and everybody else there was a cop, and nobody else was like, Karen, you shouldn't drive. You're going to be reckless and you're going to kill somebody. And I don't know. Did you bring evidence for us today, Hank?
Alcohol, and you drive a 6,000-pound Lexus in the heat of the moment at the direction of where
Yeah,
somebody
keep
is, whether you
saying
intend to hit them
6,000 pounds.
or not. I submit to you that is wanton. It is reckless. And any reasonable person would think it's very likely that serious injury would result. It's not a matter of intending to kill. It's not a matter of intending to hit. It is the conduct of the operation and the risk that is created. And so those two charges are two of the three. The three is leaving the scene, knowingly, causing death. And we'll get to that. So now, sadly, we need to get back to 34 Fairview Road where we left. We know from the tech stream data that she drove 33 feet at least, because it only picks up a 10-second window. And when it starts to pick up the data, we know she's driving at a speed. So it's more than 33 feet. We just don't know. And then when she comes back, she covers the 33 feet and 50 more.
Yeah, I thought it was
80
like
feet.
64
80 feet. Over 80
feet.
feet.
Oh, it's 80
Now,
feet.
Nobody has
now.
ever suggested, even Dr. Welcher, when she collided with them. This data doesn't tell you collision. It's a 6,000-pound Lexus. It's a 216-pound
Look at
man. It's not gonna
Yannetti.
show up
He's
left.
like
It
raising
could have
his
been in that
eyebrows.
10-second window. It
Exactly.
could have been 2 seconds after. It could have been 4 seconds after. But it's in that pocket of time, and we know it. We know it because when you reconcile the data with the phone, that 20 seconds is in the same window of that 10-second window coming back. So even if it's a couple seconds later, 4 seconds later, whatever the disorder wants, he stops moving. John O'Keefe stops moving. Forever. Forever. Next slide 6, please.
Forever. Forever.
You'll get to see this more closely. And you can't probably see it where you're sitting, but there's important data. Data doesn't lie. And you will see acceleration, 75%. You will see speed, 24 miles per hour backwards. You will see distance, over 80 feet. That's what you're going to see in this data on that night. Anger, although not necessary in any of these charges, anger can be inferred for somebody to come back that hard, that fast, that reckless.
Look who's talking about anger. Sir, you need a mirror. You need a mirror. Seriously.
That obvious, likely to create a plain and strong likelihood of death. That data tells a story that can't be changed, can't be attacked. ARCA, they do some
Yes.
test systems. You know what else they do?
Oh.
Texturing data. There's nothing about that data that is uncertain. Nothing. Take that down, please. When Ms. Reed hits John O'Keefe, collides with John O'Keefe. We don't know if he went in the air a foot. We don't know if it was how much of a clip it was. We don't know if he stumbled back, but we know there's no doubt there's a collision because her taillight's all over the yard.
There is no
It's all
doubt.
over the yard. And when he falls back and he hits the back of his head, his basal fracture, he's then lying there helpless. When Miss Reed leaves, she leaves behind tons of her taillight all over the yard. All over
Really?
the debris field.
But it wasn't found until it wasn't found by like the first responders, you know, it was found days later. So Kelly Ann Davis is saying, I don't understand how they get to second degree. Let me see if I have my if I have my PowerPoint here somewhere in my computer. Defense's closing arguments. I think that's it. Hold on. Because I have the charges. Yeah, so let me see if I can just find the charges here. Okay, so this is what you guys have to watch you guys have to watch the closing argument. I did, but then the morning when Mr. Keefe was found, they only found blood stains in the snow and also the glass. That's it. Like there was no taillights, there was no shoe, there was nothing else like that. So let me just go through the charges right here. Okay. Oh, no, stop moving. Stop moving. Please. Here you go. Okay, so this is the first charge, I believe. Let's see. This is what they failed to do. Okay. Let me see real quick. Okay, so yeah, first charge right here, first charge. That she did assault and beat John O'Keefe with intent. And then Brennan is saying, we're not saying she had intent. So anyways, with intent to murder, right? What did Brennan just say? She had the intent to get in her car and drive the car. That's what he said in his closing argument. But look at what the charge is. Well, trying to gaslight us again. Intent to murder such person by such assault and battery did kill and murder, this said John O'Keefe, and is guilty of murder in the second degree and not in the first degree. Okay. So in order for the jury to find that she's guilty of the first charge, they need to answer these questions. Did the Commonwealth prove that he died? Yes. Did the Commonwealth prove that the SUV caused his death? No. Did the Commonwealth prove Ms. Reed was driving the SUV? Sure, she was driving. Did the Commonwealth prove that Ms. Reed intended all of the above to happen? That she was driving and that's what caused his death. So that is required. All of them are required for them to say guilty on the first charge alone. So he's lying about the first charge already during his closing statement because he's saying, we're not saying she had intent to murder. We're saying she had intent to get into her car. So that's not correct. That's not correct. That's not correct. That's not correct. Everybody hit the like button, please, guys. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Mark saying Karen and John didn't know where the house was, so they posted the house. John said, stop, Karen, then back up. That's another possibility. Okay. Kelly's like, I mean, any of it. I don't understand any of it. How they get to second degree and any of it. Read off of a paper. Read off of a paper. Sorry. But especially that anti baloney. I'll never punch you now. She said punchable face earlier. I didn't really listen to this the first time around. Kelly Cow says, I missed this. And if you don't know how he's hit, then how do you know he was hit? Facts not in evidence. Mark says keywords, we don't know how it happened exactly, but you should just go with us. Just believe us. Eileen Taylor, Hank needs to make his blinking mind up. It's excruciating at this point. Nate says the key strokes ignition data could be altered by Burgess or Whiffen from memory. They changed the data. A yet lady video Jesus showed alters data in video they had. Easy for them to dodgy up stuff. Sure. Lori Commonwealth kept adding on charges because she didn't plead out. Watching attorney Melanie Little live on Friday, I was completely switched off with Brennan and TV turned down, scrolling through shorts. Kellyanne, please, Brennan, show me and explain how there was intent. I don't get it. So let's go back to Brennan. Yeah, we're going to go back to him. Let me see. Here we go. All right, Brennan, tell us more.
And you've seen videos. You can't replicate the exact contact.
You can't?
Because you need where the person was hit, how fast the person was going. But you know
Right.
what happened because when you look at the debris field, when a light is broken, it's no different than what was on the front yard. It's no different.
So how did it happen?
She leaves him behind. She leaves her taillight behind.
How
She
do you
goes
know?
home. And on her way home, she's still angry. She's still angry because she starts leaving him voicemails. Slide 7, please. Healthcare starts at 12:31:56. 12:32:04 to 12:32:12 is the data which is adjusted and you reconcile the thoughts and Alexis. 12:32:09 is when Mr. O'Keefe closes his phone after looking at Jen McCabe's text. 12:32:16 is his last steps. Because it sort of says that red range.
Hi,
move
Cat
over to
Mandy.
2 seconds,
Long
move
time
over
no
to 4
see. Good
seconds,
to
5
have you
seconds.
here,
Doesn't
honey.
matter. It's all in the same window. It doesn't change. We have slide 10, please.
Hard to get there.
Can you play that, please? Okay. Each one of those.
Yeah, Cat Mandy, I'm with you here. Hank's closing was basically defense can't prove it didn't happen, and John was a good guy, so you should just convict her. Mark's like, you're killing me, Smalls. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, I'm not. I don't think he's having a strong closing. I'm sorry, guys. That I don't know what other people are saying, but I'm not feeling it. Okay. I told you guys what I thought was strong so far, right? I thought he did a great job at humanizing the victim and kind of calling the jury to join him in the vindication. I think that's great. I think the defense should have done that. And also putting the clips is great for the Commonwealth because overall they don't look good for Karen from the beginning. We understand the reasons why. There's now good ways to explain them, but it wasn't good for her. the key cycle thing, the reversing fast, all of that technology, if the jury believed his experts, I think that's good evidence for him, because to me it was very confusing. I wouldn't really put a lot of weight into it because I didn't understand the experts clearly, and I believe that it was their responsibility to explain to the jury or people like me in a way that I could understand, and in a way that I would be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I wouldn't put a lot of weight into that. Mark says jury is going to get one more free lunch, then not guilty. Guys, I think she's gonna get the OU, operating under influence. I think she might get the OUI. I would be surprised if she's guilty on anything else, but we never know, right? Nate says, sorry, autocorrect. Oh, please, Nate, I'll read it exactly as it is because sometimes I don't understand the comments. So sorry for reading it wrong. A YouTube lady called Video Jesus. Who's Video Jesus? Is there a Video Jesus out there? Shows how they alerted masking over videos changing the evidence. Burgess made stuff up first time ever. Anyone found SD card and able to alter after. Okay. Well, Kelly and Davis is saying, let's do a quick test. Let's do it. So let's do it. So meanwhile, I'm going to put Hannah back. All right, Hannah, go ahead.
Peg represents 10 feet.
We
You
have
can't place
until
that car
like
where it was in front
we
of you.
have
You just
maybe
can't. The data doesn't tell you that, but that
45
movements
minutes
of that car.
left. Don't forget, guys,
Yeah,
go
John
check
Keith
out the Young Jerks
sadly laid on the
tonight,
ground,
6:30 p.m.
abandoned.
with Mazza.
You're gonna have to ask
I'll
yourself
be
a
there
question for
7:20.
charge number 3, leaving scene, knowing somebody was injured and then died. You're gonna have to ask
Jesus.
yourself,
Okay.
is there evidence that Miss Lee knew that she had hit him? Don't need to prove it for murder 2. Don't need to prove it for OUI manslaughter. But for the third charge, Carmel has to prove beyond reasonable doubt she knew she hit him.
Let's look at McLaughlin and Lally's faces, right? Because they were like, well, we failed last time. So let's see how this new guy that they just brought here is doing. How do you think they look right now?
We weren't there, but there was an eyewitness. There was a guide. And that eyewitness tells us that she knew. And that eyewitness is Karen Reed herself. She tells you that she knew. We have slide 8.
Poor Mr. Wolf, guys. Look at Mr. Wolf, the one with the laptop. He works so hard. He's trying to blink to keep himself awake. He's like this. Like, give him some espresso shots, please. Go ahead, Hank.
Could I hit him? Did I hit him? I don't know what that could have been. It was howling wind. I had YouTube blasting on stereo. And did he somehow try to flag me down, which was the reaction? I was hoping to garner as I slowly pulled away from the house. Did he come up and maybe trip or bend over to grab the cell phone and I ran over his foot and then passed out drunk? I mean, I didn't think I hit him, but could I clipped him?
She said, I didn't think I hit him, but maybe I clipped him. Who is the attorney that said, yes, Karen, go ahead and just talk it. Talk as much as you want. Just say things, you know? Where's my stop self-snitching hat? Don't talk to the police. Don't talk, because they will take your statements and they will misrepresent your statements, right? We all know, we all understand, and we all talked about it. She was under trauma. She's trying to make it sense in her head of what happened, but the way they clip the way they're presenting these clips and relying so heavily on this, I don't like it. Honestly, I think the clips, her own statements, are the worst piece of evidence against her. So I hope that it was a good strategy from the defense to get publicity, but I don't agree with it.
When she left Fairview.
Yeah,
left John
Queen
behind,
Olive, that's
She didn't
true.
think he was mortally wounded. But she knew she hit him. She knew she hit him. And so when she made her way back home, not only did she leave debris field all over the front lawn, but she took evidence with her too. Hair, DNA on the taillight. And she drove back to John's house. And she started calling on the way back, 12:33, just a minute and a half later. And then her messages show her anger. You see, this was John's fault. This was John's fault. And her phone calls tell you about the tone and the destruction of that relationship. 53 phone calls that night. 53 phone calls. Not one to 911. Not one to Jen McKay, please go outside and try to help. Not one to a hospital. Not one to anybody but him. 53 calls. Slide 12, please. Can you play voicemail one, please? The calls keep coming. Cell phone temperature, 72 degrees. He's been outside now, not moving, on that cold, hard ground with his cell phone under him. The warmth of his body, the cold ground, 72 degrees. It tells you the story. As this temperature plummets and that cell phone battery is compromised, so is John O'Keefe. And him and his cell phone alone on that yard. 66 degrees at 12:45. It is plummeting. Ian Whippin's taking a phone and putting it in a freezer. Not a same analogy. The idea that means that John O'Keefe was in the house, absurd. 66 turns to 61 is 12:53. 48 unanswered calls from the defendant. He's not in a party. He's not wrestling with Brian Higgins. He's not in a fight. He's in a fight. His cell phone would be moving. There'd be healthcare data. There'd be steps. If he got into the house in 20 seconds and his cell phone is found under his body the next day, then how would he get back outside? There would be more steps because his phone is working. The data is the data. There's nothing wrong with it. It's registering everything. The temperature, the movement. He doesn't go in any house. He can't go in any house. His phone never moves again. Voicemail number 2, please. Listen to this.
John, I'm here with a fucking kid. Nobody knows what the fuck you are, you fucking pervert.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Nobody knows
Where you are.
It is 12:59. John O'Keefe has been on that lawn for about 27 minutes. She hasn't called anybody else, hasn't spoken, has no information. Nobody's called her. You'll see her phone records. And she says, nobody knows where you are? She knows. She knows. Nobody does know where he is. Except her. Except her. Why is she asking nobody knows who you are? She is starting to get panicked because she knows she hit him. I'm not suggesting she meant to kill him or for him to die, but she knows she hit him and now he's not responding and she's getting nervous and she's getting anxious. And
Again, not suggesting she intended to kill him, but that is what the charge says, intent to murder. Guys, don't forget to join our Facebook group because then we can talk during the week. You know, we can give quick updates. Karina's awesome. She built it for me and she's awesome, awesome, awesome. D2E Builder says he needs to wear his tie, right? Looks like a loser. Okay, let me read some comments here. Amen. Where did they go? What does it mean they look bottom left? I don't know if you mean they locked, but I don't understand. I don't understand, so I'm not gonna try to respond. Kelly Ann says 100%, 100. If you would only call someone 50 plus times because you're concerned, not because you're guilty of committing a crime, if you're guilty, would you highlight yourself? Right. Why would you highlight yourself? That is another thing I said as well. Let's do a quick test. Or can we put a 1 and 2? I'm just curious if this makes any sense according to HB. Okay, so if you were guilty of I believe this is the test that Kelly is suggesting here. So if you believe that if you committed a crime, you would highlight yourself, put 1 in the chat, or if you wouldn't want to highlight yourself, put 2 in the chat. I think that's what it is. If it's not, Kelly, please correct me. Mark says, even if you get pulled over by cops, don't talk to them. Yeah, I think you guys have to watch Bruce Rivers because he's very good at explaining what you have to say and what you don't, because there's a lot of videos that are funny as heck. When people are like, I don't have to give you my driver's license. I don't have to have a driver's license. I don't have to tell you nothing. I don't have to tell you my name. And Bruce Rivers is going to be like, okay, guys, this is what you have to tell the cops. This is what you don't have to tell the cops. So I love his channel very much. He's just so fun to watch. Cat Mandy says, AJ was on fire. I agree with you, though. One tiny criticism I wish emphasized the fact that John deserved better. He deserved an actual investigation. Yes, yes, yes. I'm all in with you on that. Okay, I saw this. Lucinda, AJ does this in California with his client, but he's well known out there. So it goes well for him. But in Canada, they're all corrupt. He shouldn't have let her talk. Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Sheila P., good afternoon. Good to see you here. Happy Sunday, everybody. Again, happy Father's Day to all the fathers. He reminds me so much of Pee Wee Herman and Templeton from Charlotte's Web. I'm gonna have to Google that. Cat Mandy, I know they aren't allowed to, but I wish the defense could have said in closing that all the lawyers were pro bono and she needed to do the interviews to raise money for all the experts. Honestly, in this court, anything is allowed except if the defense does it, right? Kelly and Davis, would you make it one and duck out placing the blame elsewhere or call 50 plus times questioning yourself? Okay. Nate, not messages made by someone who just hit and ran, leaving evidence, etc. My thoughts, anyways. I do know their dog bite marks. The car 2.5 injury was not present for the impact clipping, creating canine bites. Amon, Karen looked okay. Karen looked bottom left. Oh, okay. After saying, could I have clipped him? I think bottom left is, let me see, bottom left. Recalling information, thinking deeply about something, accessing internal thoughts. It's not inherently a negative or deceptive behavior. So she could have been just like, internal thoughts, like trying to find an answer for her own question here. Um, Mark says FBI is still watching, but more importantly, God is watching. Yes. And I do feel a lot of hope this time. Okay. Catman says, yes, you would only call once or twice. And if you were guilty, you would only call once or twice and be like, hey, have fun at the party. Love you. Not angry and yelling. That proves she didn't know. Unsure. Right. Like she wouldn't be like, you explicit words 50 plus times. I don't think I ever called anyone 50 plus times. That is a record for me. But hey, people in Canton, they're very animated and things are happening there and people are drinking and talking a lot on the phone, and that's what it is over there. So okay, 50 plus times. But I definitely think that is good evidence for the defense, because she's saying, listen, I'm here with your nephew and your niece. Like, where the hell are you? You freaking perverts. I'm here and you're banging somebody else. You're banging somebody else. So I don't know. Let's go back to Hannah, unfortunately.
Call after call after call. He's not answering. He's not calling back. He's not even picking up the phone. And we know what's happening at this point. Panic, drunken denial, it's setting in. And so then we see the healthcare data from Miss Reed's phone. She doesn't move a little after 1 o'clock.
So good.
She goes
Blood orange.
But she doesn't move for a while.
Same Pellegrino. So good.
But she wakes up.
0.
She wakes up early the next morning. Take that down, please.
Okay.
She wakes up.
Okay.
She doesn't call Jen McCabe and say, where's John? She doesn't call Brian Higgins. Has his number, has been texting with him. Hey, was John at a party with you? Did you see John tonight? She knows exactly where she is, and she's frantic. So she wakes up Kaylee.
Thank you, Nate. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.
She's saying, call Jen McCabe. Call Jen McCabe. Why is she calling Jen McCabe?
Thank you.
You know what she doesn't say when she calls Jen McCabe? When did he leave the house? What happened last night? No. She calls and says, I left him at the waterfall.
Okay. I'm going to say good points on Brennan saying that she didn't call Jennifer McCabe to say, hey, did you see John at the party, or did you see him leaving the party? Good point saying she didn't call, asking those questions.
I left him at the waterfall. See, now it's gone from panic to self-preservation. I left him at the waterfall. And Jen says, left him at the waterfall? We saw you in front of the house. Click. Hangs up. So then she calls someone that she doesn't know very well. She calls Carrie Roberts. But now she
lied to the grand jury.
Seen her in the exact spot that John will be found.
She lied to the grand jury.
She's the first one there, or somebody else. John will be found. Maybe Lucky missed him. It's a snowstorm. You can't see, but someone's going to find him at some point. So she calls Carrie Roberts. There's no longer she left him at the waterfall. She pivots. And she calls Carrie. John's dead. I think he got hit by a plow. Why do you think she chose those words?
I don't know if she said, I think he got hit by a plow. I think she might have said something like, maybe he was hit by a plow, which is very different than I think he got hit by a plow, right? Okay, Laura Franklin, Karen didn't want to go to John's that night. He talked her into coming, so he had a ride home from Pryor, Texas on February 28th. And I think she also didn't want to go to Brian Albert's house because she was like, my stomach doesn't feel well or something like that. So we don't know. Ham sandwich and Randy's for next Norfolk DA. Mo Dean, she could have not known and called a million times, or she could have done it and called a million times to act like she didn't know. Right, but faking that anger, the outrage to me is not really consistent, because okay, so I just murdered somebody. I left them to die in the snow. I mean, don't take this clip and just don't take this clip. It would be out of context, guys. I'm just doing like a YouTube video here, okay? So let's say this happened and then I go home, and is it more likely that I would call once or twice, maybe to just be like, hey, where are you? I have no idea where you are. Or that I'll be like outraged, screaming, calling him names, cursing at him. I just don't think it's very consistent. Um, Mark says a lot of hearsay, a lot of hearsay. Cat Manny, he referred to him as Lucky. Pretty sure the defense called him by his given name, Brian Lawfren. One of the jury will know who he's referring to. They have to say the plow driver, right? She asked the question. Most people in chat are great actors. I would hire them for a Hollywood movie. Emotions can be manipulated and enhanced. Queen Olive, I don't believe Karen said any of the things he just said. That's what Jen and Carrie said. Right. She was airing on him to tell her if she was also invited in the house. Reason she was waiting on him. Right. Reason why she waited and got irked because he never returned to answer her invitation. That makes sense to me, and I think I did mention that on my closing arguments as well. I was like, she was waiting for him. He never came out. He never told her, yeah, let's go in. It's fine. They're still having the party. And then she's like, all right, I'm just going to drive away. He never came. He never texted me back. He never called me back. I'm just going to drive away. Oh, that was a car. And then, which is also like, I don't like it. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't like that at all, because if I have a boyfriend and I'm driving, I have my boyfriend with me in the car, I'm not just going to leave him at a party. Like, I'm just not going to leave him, Maybe I would have like knocked and be like, hey guys, can you call John? Like, I want to make sure, if he's staying, or I don't know. But we don't know. It's a lot of hearsays, a lot of speculation, and it's not beyond a reasonable doubt on anything. So let's just keep going with Brennan here, because he's going to talk for a while, and we have to stop around 6 so that I can prep for watching, the Young Jerks at 6:30. So, and I'll be there at 7:20 p.m. So please, guys, join us. Show me some support too, and of course, the Young Jerks, Mike Crawford, who is also always awesome, who always makes room for me in his show. And I'm so grateful for that, because like I said to you guys before, I have a lot of subscribers on this channel, like 42,000 plus, but the channel started with like guided meditations, and a lot of people that signed up in the beginning, they were even from Brazil with the Portuguese meditation. So it's not the same crowd that watches the true crime, and the true crime is the crowd that I got with you guys, that we have small lives and we have the videos that have more eyeballs. But I'm just grateful that we're starting the community, and any support that I get from the YouTubers that have been doing this for a long time is awesome, because it's not easy to do YouTube. It takes a lot of effort and time, and sometimes you just get unmotivated. Like, I've wanted to quit many times, and then I got Karina sending me messages, you're gonna do a video? And then I'm like, all right, I guess I'll do it. But I want to try to be more consistent and to give you guys great content so that we can grow together. So thank you. I appreciate your support every Sunday here. So, okay, we gotta go back to Brennan. Unfortunately, I'm trying to like change the conversation, but we gotta go back to Brennan. So let's do it.
Choose those words because she knew that there was a collision with a large motor vehicle, and she had to substitute her 6,000-pound Lexus for another big vehicle.
What?
I think she got hit by a plow. And so now we have the introduction of Jen McCabe and Kerry.
Yeah, and the injuries would not be consistent with a plow either, because it would destroy his body. You idiots.
That they probably never, ever wanted. A worse nightmare to get a call like that. For what's going to happen, what they're going to see, what they'll never be able to forget. But because the defendant is John O'Keefe's girlfriend, they wake up in the middle of the night in a blizzard.
Look at Mr. Wolf's
out of their
face.
kindness, their loyalty, their devotion to John O'Keefe. And when she calls them and tells them that she wants them to come out, this soccer mom with a perfectly normal life gets drawn into this whole farce. and she answers that call. She gets out of bed. The spirit and kindness she displays to put herself in that position because someone asked for help.
That's right,
Because that's what
Ronald.
good people do. Kerry Roberts didn't know Jen McCabe. They both knew John. They met each other once years before. Kerry Roberts separately at that time answers the call, gets out of bed, drives to go help because they have a common denominator, a common bond. John O'Keefe.
Sure.
And so you hear and see at 5:07, the defendant leaves Meadows. She leaves. And Kaylee is behind waiting. And you see her back up, and Judd Welch just showed you all of those demonstrations where you could see the unsettled snow in the back, and after the bump, you can see the pieces missing. No taillight. There's no taillight on the ground, all the white snow. There's no crack, there's no break. It's a nudge. It's a nudge. But the taillight has already been broken because when you look at the video, not one little piece, it's still framed, little angle with the light, the brakes on. You take a look, you'll be able to slow it down. You'll see the exact same piece is missing.
So why didn't the cops take a picture of her taillight at the time they were there, interviewing her in her parents' house the next morning? Because you thought she hit him with SUV. So if that's the murder weapon, why are we trying? Why do we have to like use binoculars and microscopes to find whatever the heck you're talking about, Brennan? Because why? Just why wasn't the investigation done better? Mr. O'Keefe deserved better, and you should have a better case. This is a police officer, an honorable person, and you can't just throw things to the wall and hope they stick.
Because it's back at Fairview. That's why it's missing. It's not there. It's back at Fairview. And then she leaves at 5:07. She gets to Jen McCabe's about, 5:35? 28 minutes. It's about a 10-minute ride. Where did she go in 28 minutes? Where did she go? We don't know. We
He's
don't have
all over
data
the
for that.
place.
But we
He's
know when
not
she gets to Jen McCabe's house,
concise.
she is panicked, frantic, out of her mind,
Look
screaming,
at McGoffin.
waking everybody up. Jen
McLaughlin. McLaughlin is looking at him like, oh shit, oh shit.
McCabe comes down.
Very in a
Can't
minute.
understand her. Going up to the car to try to console her. Why is she so frantic? Why can't she speak? Why can't she say a word? Because John went out and had a drink and fell asleep on a couch? Because Dawn would maybe be cheating on her? What is causing this extraordinary duress? Did she stop somewhere on the way by? Did she just see death? Kerry Roberts comes, take charge kind of person. She pulls him behind. She sees the broken taillight in Jen McCabe's driveway, and she decides she's going to commandeer this. We're going to the back to Meadows. You're going to follow me. Leave the car. I'll drive. At this point, Jen and Kerry don't know each other. They've only met once. And they go back to Meadows. They obviously don't find John because he's back at 34 Fairview. And then they start their way towards 34 Fairview. They start driving towards 34 Fairview, and they're looking. And you heard from Kerry Roberts, Jen McCabe. They're looking out the window. They can't see a thing. The snow, the blizzard, the weather, the darkness. They can't see anything. And
Where
they're driving.
where
and
are the
driving, and they decide
facts?
They're going back to 34 Fairview. And this is remarkable. This is remarkable. When they start their way past towards 34 Fairview, they get close. And when they get close, they can see nothing. But the defendant screams, "Stop, let me out." And they look around and they say, "What? Let me out, let me out." She does not see John O'Keefe. She knows where he is. She knows exactly where he is. She knows where to find him. She knows where to expect to find him because she knows where she left him.
That's so silly.
Slide 13, please.
driving Jen's in the passenger seat. And I described this to everyone, so you probably heard this before, but John lived a buffalo on the prairie. It was just a lawn in a heap that it wasn't a bush or a hydrant or a dog. It was a weird shaped lump at that time in those elements. And I was looking to find him on the side of the road. I was expecting I'd find him.
Thank you.
I understand what she's saying. I expected to find him because she was like, I expected that something had happened to him. I expected that he was hit by a plow. I expected that something had happened. That's why he wasn't answered. That's why he never came back. I understand what she's saying. But does it look good for her to call him a lump, a buffalo? No, it doesn't look good. So we got to look at both sides. We got to look at the things that the Commonwealth is using for their benefits. It doesn't look good for Karen to talk about John like this, right? But hey, nobody's perfect. We understand. You know, I'm just saying, if there's a jury member there, I can't say juror. So if there's a jury member there that is leaning guilty, he's gonna rely heavily on these clips, just like Brennan is. Molding lump is a term of endearment, obviously. Yeah, I just don't think that's good. You know, and those interviews, I mean, I can't believe she wasn't screened at least, or that her defense thought, let's just let her speak up in her own way. I don't know. Lori Franklin, Brennan gets paid to keep his mouth shut. LOL. He's got to know the truth. He's one of them. Yeah, I mean, these guys are smart. These attorneys are smart. They're used to dealing with expert witnesses. They're used to dealing with evidence of all sorts. You see Brennan questioning experts in different areas, and he does show that he has a high level of intellect, even though it gets obfuscated by his anger and his personal attacks, and a lot of times it doesn't make any sense. But they can view a case and make sense of it. So I'm with you. I believe that he can see what the facts are, but he has a job to do. And that's why I don't trust the justice system, because it is so unfair, right? It's not about actually finding the truth and actually having justice. It's about winning one side or the other. And you even see that with the judge, because she's like, no, I'm not. What I hated, one of the things I hated the most was when she was going through Dr. Laposada's testimony, and the judge was like, she's allowed to say this, she's not allowed to say that, she's not allowed to say that, she's not allowed to say. She just literally gave like lines to what Dr. Laposada could testify to, and she didn't do that to any of the prosecution's experts. So it's not justice when you can't see the whole truth and the whole facts, and the judge blocks it, and the judge and the Commonwealth join in a little team together. It's just, I don't trust it. So let's go, Brennan.
In a blizzard, and you equate that to John O'Keefe, a weird shaped lump, not like a bush, and that is John O'Keefe. She tells us she knows where she left John O'Keefe, and so they go over to.
No, she didn't tell you she knows where she left John O'Keefe. You freaking liar! Gaslighting us again. She says, "I expected to find him. Like I expected to find him."
And Karen, and she's upset. There's no doubt. I am not for a second trying to deprive her of the unrest and the trauma that is happening at this scene. Doesn't change what happened before, but I appreciate the trauma. And they're trying to help him. And guess what happens when they first move him around 603, 604? Ian with him. Data. The cell phone battery gets the cool air, presses on the battery, the cell phone battery drops. Healthcare data, he has not moved since that 22nd, hasn't moved. They start shaking him. You're going to see, when you look at the records, that healthcare data starts to move. He's been there all night. All night. Nobody else. Her. And so when they try to help him, she says something that is remarkable. She says, there's a piece of glass stuck in his nose.
Why is that remarkable?
And she says when she plucks it out, blood spurts out.
Okay.
We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Remember that. Piece of
Okay.
glass, pulls it out, blood spurts out. That's what she says.
Okay.
As they try to help John, Jen is calling 911. They would like you to believe there's a conspiracy. That the glass that's found in Mr. O'Keefe's body is somehow from inside the Albert House.
What? That's insane.
The glass.
No. A guy that was left at a party may have gone to the party. Oh my God, that's insane. Ooh, how absurd.
Well, you'll hear in the clips. If we don't play it, you'll have all the clips with you. She talks about the fact that he took her glass. He took the glass. She says it. So the Albert House, they don't need to get the glass. He already has the glass. With the straw that's later found on the street, by the way. That's what happens on an impact. Things move. The glass comes with him, lands near his body. The debris field moves past him. Shoe, hat, straw. Jen McKay makes a call to her sister, and they say because it registers 29 seconds, a Cellbrite record is not the same as a call detail record. There's no evidence it was a conversation. No lights go on. There's no conspiracy. You can call somebody. It can ring. It can go to voicemail. They have no evidence. None that there's a conversation between
They
Jen
don't
McKay.
have to have evidence.
Come-
You have the burden. You have all the burden. You have all the burden. And this is burden shifting. The judge should not allow Brennan to suggest that the defense needs to prove any evidence. This is burden shifting.
Help and her sister for some grand conspiracy. And so what happens next is traumatic. Kerry Roberts and Jen McKay see their best friend prone, lifeless, frozen on the ground. And
Best-
they're living this torment because somebody dropped them.
I have to stop all the time because he drives me insane. Best friend that Jen McCabe called a guy. There's a guy there's a dead guy in the snow. Okay. Not my friend, not an officer. There's the dead guy or a guy. I can't. Mark pushing on someone's chest, the heart will pump out blood. Karina, make him stop. He's hurting my poor ears. Guys, I told you this was going to be very difficult for us. If you listen to him already, I apologize. I told you guys, I cannot do this alone. I didn't listen to it, but I have to know what he said. And it's very hard on me as well. Thank you for being here and listening to this with me. Look at Mr. Wolf's face. Mr. Wolf's like, dude, stop bullshitting us. We're so tired of your gaslighting. And Mr. O'Keefe's dad has been sleeping the whole day. He's just been like sleeping the whole day.
I'm into this. When they're trying to help John, there was not one suggestion from anybody that John ever went into that house. There's no reason to go into that house because John was never in the house. Not one time does anybody say, what time did he leave? Well, I thought he went in there. Not even a whisper of it. because they
There's no
never,
reason for them
ever-
to think he went into the house. Really?
When they find their friend John, he's not 20 feet off the side of the road.
Deep breaths.
Like Mr. Rentler or Mr. Wolf thinks. He's right there by the side of the road, close by the curb. Could we have slide 14, please?
Is it another
You can
clip? Is
see
it another
the
clip? Is it
turnaround
another clip?
table. And then on the left, you can see where they were.
I can't really see much
That is a
at all.
They stumbled and fall. Remember when Dorothy fell, there wasn't snow. It was just the beginning of dusting. It was the cold, hard ground. Remember what Dr. Isaac told us about cold, hard ground? Causes this type of injury all the time. All the time. If we could go to slide 16, please. Remember the glass in the nose? The glass in the nose? See on the bottom left, that's where the Hampton Police Department found the glass. That he took from the car, from the waterfall. And then did 195, matching glass. On February 3rd, the matching piece of glass was found on the street. The matching piece of glass, the glass that's found with Mr. O'Keefe, was found on the street. He didn't fall back 8, 10 feet from the road. It broke, and then it shattered and went to the street. I would suggest to you it broke at the time of the collision, and he carried the glass with him, leaving the evidence behind. A trail
You have evidence of
to
that,
memorialize
sir?
what happened to him that night.
I will suggest to you is his favorite phrase. I will suggest to you that she murdered him. I will suggest to you she had intent. I'm not here to prove that she had intent to murder him, but I will suggest to you that that glass was in his hand from the bar. And even if he was holding the glass, she dropped him off, and then later he showed up with the glass. Maybe something I don't know. That is weird. But the cops also didn't go into the house to look at any glasses. Okay, what did Karen say about the glass? Did she say he for sure walked out of the car with the glass, or maybe he left it in the car? So I don't know. Mo Dean is saying Hank's story is more reasonable than a conspiracy involving many people. But did he do enough to prove his case? That's what we want to know. Mo Dean, I want to ask you, what do you think about the injuries? You think it's reasonable, beyond a reasonable doubt? Oh, okay, it's probably not beyond a reasonable doubt in your mind, but do you think it's reasonable that to suggest that this 6,000-pound SUV created those lacerations into his arm, but no bruises, no broken bones, nothing? Do you think that's reasonable? Mark, Jen said on 911, we just flipped him over. Corinne is saying, but Carrie said that she wiped the snow away from his eyes. Ronald Riches says, all planted evidence. All planted evidence. I'm curious to hear this clip, though. Let's see if he's going to play
Remember the
this.
straw? I asked you to take a look at that picture. Leaving the waterfall 1212, the black straw in the drink on the street. Collision, glass, nose, straw,
What collision?
back, hits his head.
What collision? Oh,
Replay,
he's saying that's
put
what
on the
happened.
left, please.
Let me hear. Let me hear. What did she say about the glass?
So when John got out of the car at Brian Albert's house, he took my full wine soda, which is sitting in the cup holder.
169, please.
So John's laying there, left and his right, and I approached John from the left. That's where the street is. And he had a piece of glass, like perched on his nose, like just wedged like a splinter would be. And it just pulled it. And as soon as I pulled it, it just gushed blood down his face.
Thank you.
Okay.
911 call by Jen McCabe.
Okay, but that doesn't prove anything. I mean, okay, so he was holding the glass, had a piece of glass. What if he walked in with the glass and then got into the fight, and then the glass broke in the house, and then it stuck to his nose, and after they put him outside, that's why the glass was in his nose. I mean, what if he walks into the house with the glass in his hand, the dog bit him, he hit his head backwards, he dropped the glass, a piece of glass got into his nose, and that's how they put him outside. I mean, what kind of proof is that? It's not really proof, especially not beyond a reasonable doubt. Mark saying if John was hit at 24 miles an hour with a glass in his hand, the glass would be in the driveway, not next. Yeah, like they put the glass right next to him, the phone under him. There was a lot of things that happened, right, in this supposedly collision. Clerk has the blueprints, says honk. Hank is just appealing to emotion, solidifying support for the jury, his team influence, playing for a time. I agree. And I advised you guys, I told you guys about that. I said juries go a lot about emotions. It is human behavior to make decisions based on emotion more than we do on intellect. So I did say if I was the defense team, I would have definitely called Proctor, Higgins, and Alberts to combat the emotional appeal that prosecution is bringing through these videos of making Karen Reed look so bad. I would say, but look who looks really bad as well. And look at their faces while they're talking about the things that they are involved in. Look at Proctor's face when he's talking about the text messages. Look at Higgins' face when he's talking about driving through a military base and destroying the SIM card. Look at Brian Albert's face when he's talking about not leaving the house to help, when he's talking about getting rid of the phone, the house, the dog. Emotional appeal. So, I have to trust the defense team. They're stellar. They're like studs, amazing attorneys. But I'm just a little person, with my little observations. That's all. But emotional appeal is pretty important. Kelly Ann Davis says this doesn't prove an accident happened. Provide me evidence this is from an accident. Exactly. But for Brennan, these little things are enough. And he's mixing it up with the videos, and that is for him beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a very weak case, in my opinion, this time, more and more and more, more and more and more. So I'm very confident this time the defense did a better job, and that the prosecution did improve this. Sheila P., I don't think Hank knows what prone means, face down. His theory is that he fell backwards and hit the back of his head on the frozen ground. Oh, but they say they flipped him, right? Jen McCabe or somebody. Mo, great question, Bianca. I wish I was smart enough to answer. I could have solved the case. Ha ha ha. We're all just brainstorming here, right? There's no right or wrong answers. We're just trying to think like what thoughts come to our minds when we're asking these questions, because the jury is probably having thoughts too. Like they're humans just like us. Kelly and Davis, how did he get hit at 24 miles? Let's skip the no broken bones. And how did the phone land unscratched, unbroken, completely fine? Mark says, Queen, I'm listening to this a-hole for you. LOL. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. Kelly, after supposedly flying backwards through the air. Right. Remember Trooper Paul? What happened to Trooper Paul? I think I'm going to try to make him a little faster. Let's see if that's too bad for us. Let's see.
She's not hiding from anybody. She's trying to help. She's bringing attention to the situation. And when 911 comes, we have first responders. These people are heroes. Some of them, you heard from some of them, they were born to help people. That's what their life is about. The detail on all their mechanics. Getting to work 2 hours early to go to Blizzard so they get there on time so you can help people. These are the core of our community. Mr. Nuttall, this is what he does.
Okay, I think we can finish.
He's the first person on his knees. He doesn't know this person from anybody. But for him, it's another human being. This is his passion. Katie McLaughlin, first responder. This is not just a profession, it's her life. Yes, she knows Caitlin Albert. Do you think she went there that night at a party and set up a murder and came back? And so they tell you what happens at the scene. Some things hard to remember, some things people will never forget. When you're in a traumatic incident, sometimes it's something you'll never ever forget. Anthony Nuttall remembers speaking to the defendant. I hit him. Remember, he's on his knees. What happened? I hit him.
That's not how it happened.
Her fear is realized. She hit him. She clipped him. She didn't think he was mortally wounded. She panicked. She can't come to terms with this. So she has to bring people with her to face it. And now she's facing the reality of what she had done. And her emotion is overwhelming. I hit him. She speaks to Miss McLaughlin. I hit him. Not did I hit him? Could I hit him? Perhaps I hit him. That was earlier. Now she's recognizing what she did. I hit him.
How many times
And
are you
people are making
saying
it
she said that? Like
Anybody that says
20?
anything adverse or inconsistent or inconvenient is a liar or a perjurer or in a conspiracy.
I mean, you got a lot of people that lied, and they admitted that they lied. Look at Karen's mom. She's like, now I'm gonna say it again. I said this on Friday, and I'm gonna say it again. I don't know who these two girls are. The one with the pink and the one with the black hair here next to her, but they do not deserve the seats. I'm so gonna get in trouble for this. I don't know who they are, but why isn't their body language more animated? Like in outrage with Hank, and why are if they're all sitting on the Karen Reed's family side, why aren't they more? that doesn't make any sense because everything makes guys. I think that 80% of our communication is nonverbal or something like that. Google it, and it makes a difference if the jury is looking at this idiot full of anger talk, and I'm behind him like that doesn't even make sense. Wow, like he's lying, like wow. But look at them the whole time. They have they're like uninterested. They're just crossing their arms. The girl next to the pink girl doesn't even like have a facial expression. I'm sorry, but those seats are very valuable, and Karen deserved better support here. Okay, I'm just saying. Amon, I tried to think maybe Karen did hit him, but when I get to the scratches on the arm, Car did not do that. I agree with you. I also tried. I was like, okay, maybe she did hit him. Maybe she did hit him. She was saying she maybe did hit him. Why wouldn't I think that? And I just can't get through the injuries. I can't. Clerk has the okay. You want me to read that really, Clerk? You know who you're talking to, right? I can't read that. Ipsidixti hunk. Did I say it correct? Did I read that right? Captain Skid Marks. Hello, good to see you here. I haven't seen you here before, so welcome. It's good to have you in our little chat. It's so great to have you here. Yeah, those are dog bites. If anyone was trying to convince me otherwise, I think they're gaslighting me. Good. For us that know what gaslighting means, good. But I hope nobody in the jury is like, yeah, that sounds good. They're lawyers. Captain Skid Marks, they are interns for the defense. That's what I heard. But I would be like, guys, get out. Go get lunch. We're going to get somebody from outside. Somebody wearing pink. We're going to get them here. There's lawyers, students working for the defense team. Weak performance on your faces, girls. Weak performances on your faces, okay? Kelly and Davis, I agree, but if you watch closely, it's all over their face. You mean the girls? All right. Lori, if they showed emotion, Bev will kick them out. No, because the blonde lady next to Karen Reed's mom, she showed a lot of emotion during Alan Jackson's closing. Like she was animated, but not like not like me, not like I'm doing here, like not like that. But you could like feel it, check it out later. You could feel it. I think the jury will find her guilty of something because that's what juries do. Surprise! If you need a surprise party plan, to go to a jury. I think they are probably gonna find her guilty of the operating under the influence because she said it herself. I had this drink, that drink, that drink, and if they are trying to find her guilty of something, that is an easy charge. And the defense wanted that charge, right? The lesser included. Lori Franklin, I think they are part of the defense team. She walked them out to the car when they left. You read it right. Thank you. That's awesome. There are key moments when they are disgusted. Okay. Maybe I'm being unfair, and that is completely fair. I think that Nim Parks was sitting next to Karen's mom. Okay. She's trying to block out Hank like all of us are. Yeah, it's hard to be around Hank. I can imagine. So let's keep going a little bit further here. And look at this guy's face right behind Dr. Wolf. There's the dad, right? John O'Keefe's dad. So look at the guy behind John O'Keefe's dad. Oh, wait, I'm blocking him. Hold on, guys. This guy. So did Mr. O'Keefe, the father, fart? And then this guy behind him is like, oh, I don't know. I don't know what happened here, but he looks, like he's having trouble breathing or something. Okay, keep going.
Good people who went there for a total stranger.
Look at Karen and Karen's mom and dad.
What she had done.
And the blonde lady.
With
Look at her
the boogeyman proctor and the
disgust.
bad government. I know it doesn't reconcile with
Look,
no DNA on this piece of evidence. I know it
eyebrows
doesn't reconcile with
raised.
everybody setting up the girl. I know that doesn't reconcile.
The
But
guy in the
reality
laptop is Mr. Wolf.
you have
He's so tired.
independent,
He's
core
done.
people who hear her say, I hit him.
He's done.
I hit him.
He can't even keep his eyes closed. He was
And
open. He was like
You
this.
attempt to betray everybody. That's a liar. You don't have to rely just on these good people. Oh, you should. You should. You don't have to. Because we have a guy. And it's Karen Reed. Slide 17.
We have a guy and it's Karen Reed.
So what's the cyclist? Did I know I said I didn't, but did I really say this many times as law enforcement's cleaning? I said it.
Okay. I know it doesn't fit the theme, the theory, the story, but she tells you herself. She endorses those good people exactly what they had heard.
Pound on the table. When you don't have the facts, you pound on the table.
Inconvenient. But the truth has a way of seeping up to the daylight. It can be oppressed and suppressed and pushed down and covered and twisted, but it rises. It rises. And it is not a coincidence. There's no coincidence that Mr. Nuttall and Ms. McLaughlin hear exactly that. She tells you. And Jen McCabe, when she's standing next to Ms. McLaughlin, she tells you that she saw or heard the same thing. Remember what happened to her on the stand when she had the audacity to say, I heard her say it? What happened to her? This woman who never even wanted to leave her home that day, pulled out into a storm to see her best friend dead. What happened when she had the audacity to say that? And now we know that the defendant herself said the same thing. And the funny thing, ironic thing is, you will see in a photo when Ms. McLaughlin, firefighter, was speaking to the defendant, Ms. McCabe was next to her. Ms. McCabe was trying to protect her, trying to shut her up. Don't talk, you're upset, stop saying crazy things. The villain of the story was trying to help the defendant from incriminating herself. The irony. Can we have slide 9, please?
Let me just share this with you guys real quick. I like this. I like this. Okay. So, pound on the table, right? We all heard it. The phrase pound on the table originates from a saying about courtroom arguments, suggesting that when one lacks strong evidence or a solid legal basis, they resort to emotional appeals and loud assertions. Right here in the bottom, when the law is on your side, you pound the law. When the facts are on your side, you pound the facts. If neither the facts or the law are on your side, you pound the table and yell like hell. Does that remind you guys of anybody? Anybody? Okay, let's go back to him. Go, Brennan. Go, Brennan. Yeah, I think the guy sitting there with the family might be a
The one
problem.
so tragic is interesting. It is interesting
Who
what they-
cares about this stuff?
It's like
I don't
13,
understand any of this.
They'll leave the waterfall 82 degrees, 1222 in the car, 77 degrees,
Yeah,
1237.
yeah.
About 3.5 minutes after the defendant collides with John O'Keefe, it started going
Oh,
down
civil
72,
attorney. Okay.
12:45, 66, 12:53, 61, and you see it drop and steady off at 12 or 1:36.
The
Remember,
truth
so
has a
remember,
way of seeping
John
out.
O'Keefe, the struggle for life,
Mm.
goes past, and the blood's still warm either way under him. Doesn't move again until 6:06. It drops down 7 degrees because the women are pulling on him. The cold air is sitting in the battery. What happens at 6:15? You're going to see the video. You've seen it. Still photos. Carrie Roberts goes over, takes up the phone. Not only does she get her phone, she puts it in her pocket, and then 20 minutes later, the next meeting, the temperature rises. That's not convenient. That's not coincidence. That's fact. That's data. And then the phone is passed, but the warm environment and it raises up. 6:15. How can someone conspire to pick up the phone on the side of the yard under Mr. O'Keefe's body at 6:15 and know the battery temperature was then going to rise? Not only the battery temperature rise, when you look at the healthcare data, at 6:15 when she picks up the phone, you know what happens to the healthcare data, right? It starts to move. It's data. It's data. So, while they're going through this duress, the defendant asked Jen McCabe for yet another favor. Look up hypothermia. Find out how long it takes for someone to die in a cold. And there's Ms. McCabe in her winter jacket.
I love what Alan Jackson said about this. Well, if she was asking her to Google hypothermia, why didn't she just Google hypothermia? I loved it. I did not think of that. Masterful, Alan
Soccer
Jackson.
mom trying to help. She has MS. Her hands aren't working. She's trying to type it in. What's happening during that
So
time?
this
It's a perfect
Karen.
scene. She tells you that the defendant then wants to run back to the ambulance, so she goes with her, never finishes or completes the input. And then she tries it again. At 6:23, at 6:24. That's what this woman did that night, that morning. Not only for her friend, for her. For her. That's what she did.
Why are you
And
yelling
what
at me?
happens to her after? Because the timestamp, when you open the timestamp, it's at the time it's open, and she's in bed at 2:27 looking up Hawkmark Sports because she is so interested in the kids' sports, and that timestamp stays open. And she goes to that tab the next morning when she puts in how long to die in cold. And that's being portrayed that she's in a conspiracy. She gets vilified as a murderer, a soccer mom who came to help. It took Ian Whiffen 5 minutes to show you a live demonstration on how simple that works. That she's not deleting anything. Jessica Hyde told you it's automatic deletions all the time. You usually can't delete that information. That's not a click and swipe like the good Dr. Wolf Marker knows how to do. This can't be erased. But they still hold on to this. As they argue to you and all the injustices that have been done, they tell you, they want you to believe. They'll take a flyer on the fact that she looked up how long to die in the cold at 2:27. It is an absolute contrary to the science. There's no basis to support it, but they stand here in front of you. Why? Because every time they say something like that, you look the other way. Don't look at her. Look the other way. 2:27. Look the other way. Don't look at what she did. Former Trooper Proctor. Look the other way. Don't look at her. Every time they make those, oh, she got the glass from inside the outlets. Maybe in the basement. Look the other way. Don't look the other way. Look at the facts. Look at the data. And it all leads to one person. There's no grand conspiracy. It leads to one person, the defendant. And it's not just the data and facts. It's her herself. Let's talk about Mr. Proctor. You were invoked with this emotion early in the opening that this is a cancer. That's a tough word. Trying to evoke that primal reaction, disgust. I'm not saying you shouldn't be disgusted by the text messages. You should. They're not defensible. I don't stand here and defend impropriety. I don't. But that doesn't change the physical evidence, the scientific evidence, and the data. He was terminated. He paid a penalty. He was held responsible for what he did. He should have been. He should have been. But that doesn't get a free pass. That doesn't change the facts. It doesn't change the physical evidence. It doesn't change the science. It's unfortunate. It's distasteful. It's dishonorable. Remember, Trooper Lieutenant was asked, was the investigation with honor and integrity? He said it was. Was Trooper Proctor's effort honor and integrity? He said it was integrity. But he never said honor. That's a man of honor. Military service, dedicated to his country, highest level of clearances to the President of the United States, now a state trooper. He would not say
But
that
Buchanan?
Proctor was honorable. Because he wasn't. He wasn't. But that does not change. It doesn't create a conspiracy.
He
It doesn't invent the law.
said
It doesn't
100 times The investigation was conducted with honor and integrity. Anything Trooper Proctor said, I would take it as gospel. What? I feel like I'm being gaslit again. Callie, if the jurors were not paying attention, that kind of yelling would only scare them. Ineffective. Ineffective. And go back and look at the woman's face. Oh, now look at the girl with the pink. That's good. That's what I'm talking about, girl. That's what I mean when I say bring us some emotion. That's a great facial expression. See, she's like, you're just lying through your teeth, sir. So that's great, 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 great pause here. Right hand short, trying to get her friend to not incriminate herself by telling her to shut the F up. No, she was just being a mean girl. She could have comforted her. Right. They're so mean that over there, including Hank. Hank is part of the mean girl team. Okay. He's part of the mean girl. Look at his face. Look at his face right now. Did I do it right? Beautiful, huh? Don't pause me like this, guys. If you guys screenshot me like this, I'll kill you all. This is just a clip on YouTube. Don't clip me. Don't clip me saying that. Soccer mom, on a side note, I love soccer moms. Okay. Ew. Ew. Ew, Brent. Let me let me actually do a screenshot because I may need her face and I may need all the faces here for something. I got the civil lawyer, I got the dad sleeping, I got Hank doing whatever he's doing, I got the girl in pink. So
It's
go
something in
ahead.
the house, something they're not. It just doesn't. When you read those text messages, they're hard to look at. It's unfair. It's unfair. And if there's a penalty more than being fired, well, maybe that penalty would be deserved. But it has nothing to do with the justice in this case. It just doesn't. There's not one piece of evidence, not one, that we can look at and say, this was tampered with. This was planted. This was distorted. Remember when we introduced the taillights at the beginning? I didn't introduce the taillights, but then the defense did, so I put them in. Those were taillights that were only found by Trooper Proctor. I did not put that evidence in. Understanding those text messages and appreciating the disdain one might have for his comments. Not that there was any evidence of tampering, not that there was any evidence that it was not true, but I didn't put that evidence before you because we didn't need Trooper Proctor in this case. We don't need Trooper Proctor to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. That's why I didn't introduce that evidence to you. Now, there's been a lot of talk about planting of taillights.
Get this straight face,
We know
ladies'
the
faces.
taillight
They're
was planted
funny.
Because Trooper Buchanan, Mr. Proctor, did not go down to Guyton to see Miss Reed until later in the afternoon. We know from the 507 video, we've seen that. We know the taillight was already missing when she was leaving the driveway. When the good Canton police detectives went to do a wellness check to care for those young children, and they
Good.
came to the house, inadvertently, they didn't even know it. The dash cam captured the back of the car. The taillight happened.
Why didn't they take a picture though, right there?
At this point, Trooper Proctor's still in his pajamas. He's not even on the case. He's not even on the scene. He's been near the car. And in the Guyton videos themselves, when you closely take it at an angle and it moves, but if you get the right angle, you can see it's missing. It's gone. Can we have slide 18, please?
All right, let's have it. Are you gonna beat us up?
507. You can play any angle you want. If you look at this angle, it's gone. You know, plant is already gone. You know where it is? 34 Fairview Road.
No, the thing is that none of the evidence is clear. None of what he says is like crystal clear to me. Everything is questionable. Everything has another possibility. And I just can't see what he's seeing. I just can't see what he's seeing. Like, it's like, okay, let me see. Let me see. What are you talking about? And then what with the temperature of the phone? And what with the cycles? What do you you don't have to have the lead investigator in a murder case? Okay. What else are you telling me? I feel like I'm going crazy. So I don't know. Lori Franklin says no picture, no videos, no door cams. Right. And what about the Arlo video from the neighbor? Lieutenant Leafblower Gallagher, the one that says absolutely not, the worst for me. He's like, I knew what was going to be on the video, so that's why I didn't ask for the video footage. Kelly Ann Davis. It's really important to remember what AJ said. I've heard and read so much this weekend about people thinking Karen is guilty because there is reasonable doubt. They're doing burden shifting. I see taillight missing in those pictures. That means she's not guilty if there's reasonable doubt. If there's any reasonable double doubt, she's not guilty. The Commonwealth is required to prove beyond reasonable doubts. Correct. But they are doing like burden shifting. They're like, listen. They didn't prove you. They didn't prove to you. The defense didn't prove to you that it didn't happen. The defense didn't prove to you that it didn't happen. So, you know, all the video that passed through Commonwealth's hands tends to be altered. Right. So, guys, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to end the stream because I have to go watch the Young Jerks. I want to make sure I watch what is gonna be the show with Mazza is gonna start at 6:30. So I'm just gonna get a quick break here before I start watching him. And also, don't forget that 7:20 p.m. I'll be joining him hopefully, and it's going to be fun. I always have a lot of fun with the Young Jerks. So we're not going to be able to finish Hank tonight. Maybe we'll finish this week during during the verdict watch if we do a live. But thank you so much for indulging me and helping me to watch some of Hank's closing statement, which hasn't really persuaded me in any way. So, I don't know. I want to thank you guys all for being here. And hopefully, I'll see you at the Young Jerks tonight. If not, definitely next Sunday. No matter what happens, we're going to talk about something. And during this week, follow me on Facebook and X so that we can stay connected and see what's happening. Because I would love to join you guys or somebody, or maybe another channel, to be watching the verdicts like live, because that is so emotional. And I really have a lot of hope that this is going to be a good one for Karen this time. So I love you guys so much. Thank you all for being here, for being members, for being consistent. And I'll see you guys later, hopefully. And have a great evening, everybody. See you next time.